Historische Mannschaftsfoto sozusagen aller 22 Grand Prix-Piloten, die in diese Saison 2000 starten. Und die Ferrari-Jungs waren ein bisschen verspätet da. Aber im Endeffekt hat es dann wohl alles geklappt. Auf der Start- und Zielgeraden in Melbourne, letztes Winken ins Publikum. Und ein kleiner Applaus hier aus Köln für die Jungs in Australien.
Dames en heren, hartelijk welkom vanuit de pitstraat van het
We know how much fast we are, because in the beginning the test everywhere we didn't know comparison with the other teams. Now I think if everybody run with the same kilos, with the same weight, we are in good shape, and we just wait. We need to wait for tomorrow to see in qualifying how the car goes.
Were you worried at one stage when you were looking at the test times and you weren't really at the top, that you thought, maybe we're not that quick?
Maybe I had some problems with the tires because I locked too much the front tires, and I started to have a lot on this steer, and then we changed the setup of the car to help that, and then the time came. Just we need to, and also the beginning the day was very dirty. Then the track was better in the end, and everybody was faster.
Dat hadden ze ook willen zijn.
You can say the team had a very mixed day.
Not a good day, in my opinion. We have, I believe, the speed in the chassis, and I think we've also got the speed in the engine, actually. The reliability is not where it should be, and we've been plagued by that during the pre-season testing. But we're on the case, but we haven't run on new tyres. We've been running with quite a load of fuel on board. So we haven't seen the speed that both drivers are capable of producing. I think, for a while there, Eddie got fastest lap just for a short while, and he was up there in the top 3 or 4 for a long time. Johnny didn't get nearly as good a chance. He was plagued by the kind of problems that we've had in testing, where we've got a drop of oil pressure and the engine stops out on the track. Eddie had it also in the second session. So we need to get that fixed, and Cosworth are working very hard on it.
What I don't understand, Jackie, is that you ended the year last year with a rock-solid engine package. The car was quick, the engine was quick, and we come to this year, and I mean, I hope you don't mind me saying, it's hard to do 5 laps in a row with the engine.
Well, that's progress. You don't get progress without taking risk. And we took a bit of a risk, I think, in developing the engine. It's revving higher, quite a lot higher than last year. It's going to produce more power than last year. And, no pain, no gain. And we've got to get it fixed. Cosworth know the problem. I'm comfortable they will get it fixed. But in the meantime, there is a frustration. But it is the first race, and I don't think we're the only team that is having first practice day blues. And while we are going, we're pretty damn quick.
Sommige dingen kun je in het Engels.
No, it's interrupted my last session a little bit. I hit a bird on about corner 4, I think. But there you go. Hopefully it'll be better tomorrow.
Tell us about day 1, first official day, basically, in Formula 1.
The first test session went well, the first hour. Obviously, we're trying things at the moment, and they're working well, I think. I don't really think the time reflects how we're going, but again, it's you can't tell anything until you get to qualifying.
Is it much different to do this as opposed to testing, where you've got all day and basically can do as much things as you like?
Obviously, it's a lot shorter, 2 hours, but the weather we've had, it's been pretty much like this anyway. It's been raining in the mornings, and we've had about 3 hours in the afternoons, so I think the testing is going to be good tomorrow.
Hoe zit het dan met... Daar breekt dus gewoon iets af.
Your face fills my mind. I get religion quick, just looking to back. Honey, I'm touching something, touching me. I'm under your thumb, under your spell. Can't you see? If I could only reach you, if I could make you smile, if I could only reach you, that would really be a breakthrough.
Oh, Schumacher die gaat er hard af. Wow.
Breakthrough, these barriers of pain. Breakthrough, to the sunshine from the rain. Make my feelings known towards you. Turn my heart inside and out for you now. Somehow I have to make this final breakthrough. Your smile speaks books to me. I break up with each and every one of your looks. Honey, you're starting something deep inside of me. Honey, you're sparking something.
Oh, Jules eraf.
This part of me, I'm out of control. I wanna rush head on into this ecstasy. Reach you, if I could make you smile. If I could only reach you, that would really be a breakthrough. Reach you, if I could make you smile. If I could only reach you, that would really be a breakthrough. Oh yeah.
Oh, Barrichello. Oh, Hakkinen. De achtervleugel. Een achterband. De achterband ploft. Oh dear, oh dear. Er is geen band voor rechts achter. Mijn god.
If I could make you smile, if I could only reach you, that would really be a breakthrough. If I could only reach you, if I could make you smile, if I could only reach you, that would really be a breakthrough.
No, never. Hey, I want this pay. Hey,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Action in Australia! Miracle of miracles. Martin Brundle gets out of the car.
It's a great place for the race, according to the commercials, and so say all of us. Melbourne's Albert Park is a magnificent sight on Grand Prix Sunday. Hello there, all you night owls back in Britain. It's great to have you with us for the first Grand Prix of the new millennium. If you're having a party, enjoy yourselves. Be sure to have one for us. Formula One never stands still. There have been some very significant changes since the end of last season. Murray Walker is the man with all the details.
First team in the pit lane this year as reigning Constructors' champions, Ferrari changed their driver lineup for the first time in 4 years. Michael Schumacher stays on for yet another crack at a third driver's title, and he's joined by Rubens Barrichello from what was Stuart Ford. He'll be determined not to be just another number 2. McLaren show no sign of losing any of their speed and remain the team to beat. There's no change again on the driver front. Mika Häkkinen going for his own hat-trick of championships, while David Coulthard will be looking to raise his game. Jordan reached a landmark third place in the Constructors' Championship last year and will be keen to stay there. They have one of the strongest driver pairings of the lot. With Damon Hill retired, Jarno Trulli joins the team from Prost and will be a good competitive partner to Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Already twice a winner in '99, Frentzen may well be close enough to win more races should the top 2 fall off the track. For Stuart Ford, now read Jaguar Racing as British Racing Green makes a return to Formula One. Eddie Irvine makes the move from Ferrari to Jaguar, Milan to Milton Keynes, to make it an all-British driving duo with Johnny Herbert. Jackie Stewart has stepped down as chairman, but will still be seen at races, minus the Tartan Cruisers. Williams begin 2000 with a new engine partner, BMW. Brand new power plants tend to be unreliable, and the team doesn't expect both cars to finish every race. The driver pairing is also the youngest on the grid. Ralf Schumacher leads the team and is joined by Jenson Button, the 20-year-old British boy wonder. After a nightmare '99, Benetton have restructured and they'll be out to prove a point. The team retains speedy Italian Giancarlo Fisichella and uncompromising Austrian Alexander Wurz. It's all new at Prost Peugeot with Frenchman Jean Alesi from Sauber and highly rated Formula 3000 champion Nick Heidfeld. The German driver could encourage a Prost-Mercedes engine partnership. Sauber will be hoping to shake off their lacklustre performances with more than a little help from Ferrari. They're using last year's Ferrari engine and Mika Salo joins on loan from, yes, Ferrari. He'll line up alongside Brazilian Pedro Diniz. With a new car, new engine and massive new sponsorship, it's a new dawn for Arrows. Spaniard Pedro de la Rosa stays on, joined by Dutchman Jos Verstappen in the second seat. Italy's other team, Minardi, has taken on an Iberian field thanks to more Spanish sponsorship and an all-Spanish-speaking driver pairing. Marc Genet starts his second season in Formula One and is joined by young Argentine hopeful Gaston Mazzacane. Deep breath now. Lucky Strike Reynard, British-American Racing, BAR Honda. Not an advertising firm, but BAR in their second year in Formula One. Jacques Villeneuve stays, and along with Honda Power is their biggest asset. And he's partnered again by talented Brazilian Ricardo Zonta.
The ITV studio partnership remains unchanged. That's the jets from the Royal Air Force that always put on a spectacular display here at Albert Park, Melbourne, by the way. Tony Jardine in spectacular form this weekend, Tony. The heat out there 39 degrees, the track temperature. How's the heat going to affect the Grand Prix?
Well, quite a lot, actually. I mean, we saw, you know, Häkkinen sweating away in the press conference yesterday. Schumacher, by contrast, there wasn't a bead of sweat on him. Schumacher went on to say that they simulated a lot of really hot weather tests on the engine. So it's not just the equipment, it's the drivers. If they haven't done their own winter fitness testing, woe betide them.
Tony, we're going to talk about Jenson Button in a moment. Let's just reflect the qualifying hour. McLaren really pulled things round because they had a desperate time leading up to the session, and it just shows how tough it's going to be for Coulthard to get the better of Häkkinen.
It's going to be very, very tough for Coulthard. Well, Häkkinen had already got the provisional pole, and David Coulthard came back at him. He'd been ahead of his teammate in 3 of the practice sessions already, just behind Michael Schumacher, and he showed the early promise and the early start that David Coulthard really wanted to get into. There it was, taking that provisional pole back. But he had to reckon with his teammate, Mika Häkkinen, double world champion, went out there. He'd missed a whole practice session. They changed an engine in 40 minutes. They tried an outlandish setup, which he said, I trusted my engineers on it. And he got that pole position brilliantly and kept it to the end of the session.
Michael Schumacher has an absolutely dreadful record here in Australia. He's never won here. But Ferrari, this time round, they were over a second behind last year, hit the ground running.
Yeah, I mean, it is a jinx circuit for Schumacher, but Ferrari stayed in the wind tunnel as long as possible. Their wind tunnel up and running properly this year. It wasn't up and running this time last year. They've learned a lot. Best aerodynamic performance for a long time. Having been fast in the first 2 sectors, in his reply, Michael Schumacher overdriving, not getting the tyres working as well as McLaren, who have 2 dedicated Bridgestone engineers. Then Barrichello, oh, Smoothie himself, still open-jawed. The fact that he's driving for a Ferrari, the first Brazilian, he can't believe it. But he did a great job. First 2 sectors, we thought he'll take pole back. No, he wasn't as smooth as we thought, and he lost it. 4th place on the grid, but he wasn't too far behind Michael Schumacher. Great performance from Rubens.
Keep going, they can hear you fine back home. Our sound engineers are playing a blinder, don't worry about that. You fancy Rubens Barrichello a little bit? He's quickest in warm-up.
Yeah, I do, very much, because I think he'll be there or thereabouts, and with all these new cars about the heat and the attrition, only 8 finished last year, he could pick up the pieces, because I think he's going to be in contention throughout this race. I could be wrong, of course.
We look closely at David Coulthard. He made a mistake right at the end of qualifying yesterday, and you just think you can't afford to do this sort of thing.
No, I know, and there he goes off backwards, and that was that rear wing coming down as well and nearly hitting him on the head, quite dangerously in fact. He was complaining about understeer on the car. He didn't have enough time. He said, I'm trying to make up time, cure it. He lost it, and whereas he spun harmlessly on a 360 on the Friday, this one he went in. New frontal and side impact tests, including they have a 2-centimeter Kevlar protection plate alongside of the fuel tank. So he was all right, thank goodness. And, you know, he could do it today still.
Well, he could do it today because he's up there on the front of the grid. As we look at it, Mika Häkkinen on pole for the 3rd successive year. Both McLarens right at the front there. And it's very much 2 by 2 if we look at the grid, because right behind the McLarens, Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, his first driver for Ferrari, followed, Tony, by the 2 Jordans.
Yeah, the Jordans, 5th and 6th position, great for them. And the Irish Prime Minister, Bertie Ahern, visited the pits afterwards, which was great. And then in 7th and 8th place, Villeneuve in the BAR, and Irvine, he was pleased with that.
Yes, Villeneuve hoping for the first BAR point. Fisichella in the Benetton, Mika Sala in the Sauber, powered by that Ferrari engine.
Yeah, his car got better all day, Jim, and only the red flag spoiled his run. Ralph had a throttle sensor problem. De La Rosa was smooth and fast. That was impressive.
Yarra's a bit disappointed only to be mid-table there.
Yeah, also Wirtz disappointed. More traffic than the M25, he said.
And Nick Heidfeld, one of the newcomers.
Yeah, he was the top of the rookies there and did a very, very good job indeed. Lacey, the old boy hanging in there, Genet, he said, you're going to see more from me. The Spanish coming on in Grand Prix racing.
And going down the back, the very unfortunate Johnny Herbert down the back alongside Pedro Diniz. And a Williams on the back row for the first time since Jack Lafitte in Dallas back in 1984.
And last of all, Marzipan.
You had to get Marzipan in, didn't you, for Mazzacane? Okay. Right then, now it is time to focus on Jenson Button, aged 20 years and 53 days, makes him the youngest British Grand Prix driver of all time. A boy racer, though. Just keep your eyes here on number 14.
What made you take up karting then? Why did you fancy having a go?
Because my dad brought me a kart for Christmas, and I was going round this pub car park.
It's my hobby, but he's the pilot. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, very much so. What he wants to do in the future, I don't know. They all say they want to go to Formula One, but I don't know. As long as he's enjoying himself, that's the main thing.
He enjoyed himself as a 9-year-old, racing away there to victory. And 11 years later, John Button, he finds himself in Formula One. Now, lots of people say they're going to dream of getting to Formula One. You all lads made it.
Yeah, the young karters, the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, their dream is to get into F1, no different than ours. But we've been lucky.
What about at this moment? How are you feeling?
I'm more nervous being here than down there on the start line, which is where I want to be. No, I'm okay. I'm quite cool, and I don't understand why. It wasn't what I expected.
Well, listen, as you would know, your boy is very big business now. A lot of people want a slice of the action, but the father-son relationship, that's rock solid.
Yeah, it's good. He's put in a lot of effort over my racing career. We've been very close, and it's great for him to be here now, watching everything go by.
He said to me yesterday, we're more like brothers than father and son. Agree?
Yeah, definitely. When we go out for a meal or something, we always have good fun, and no, it's strange. He is my father, I know, but we always it's
Jensen,
amazing.
the nation is going to be watching you with enormous interest and enthusiasm. Jolly good luck. You deserve it.
Thank you very much.
More like brothers than father and son?
Yeah, that's true. That's really strange. I mean, we can go to disco sometimes. He's not embarrassed about the old man dancing around like a prat.
Can you take us too? If you want some old company, take us, John.
You were saying that you got his mobile, which thankfully we've turned off now because all sorts of calls coming through today, but lots of messages coming from back home, John.
Yeah, for friends and family. Enjoy yourself. I know you're all partying, you're in lock-ins in pubs and huge parties going on, and from the phone calls they've already started drinking, and I don't think they're going to last on the race. But
can he handle the expectation? Because in Britain, I mean, one of the sad things is we do build people up and then we love to knock them down.
Yes, I think he can. He's strong enough. I think he's proved the strength from his it's quite a big accident he had. And then to come out and perform as he has, with all the pressure, because it was like really bad there. No.
How did you feel when you saw this happen, John? Practice yesterday.
Yeah, that was a little bit worrying, but apparently when he got out the car afterwards, a marshal came up to him and Jens turned around and looked at the car to survey the damage and said, oops. I don't know how we're going to fill out his insurance claim when we get back home, but...
He's too young to get insurance to drive a hire car here at the moment.
But everyone round here has been giving him advice. I think even his taxi driver told him how to drive the Australian Grand Prix when he arrived, didn't he?
Brilliant. We had a chauffeur with a hat. He said, we got near to the airport, 3:30 in the morning, and he said, would Sir like to go around the circuit? So I said, yeah, go for it. And he was telling me, you've got to brake hard for this one. When you get out, it's full power all the way down the straight. That was incredible.
Listen, he was second in warm-up this morning. That is very encouraging indeed. What are your expectations for your boy in the Australian Grand Prix?
Really to go the distance and get some race experience, especially in the temperature. No miracles are going to happen. Just a good solid race from him. Learn. He's lacking in miles. He's got to get the laps in.
And I mean, I can feel almost all the mums out there worrying about the little lad, almost like the first time someone goes and drives the family car. I mean, is he ready for it? And are you at all worried about his safety in this race?
No. I'm not worried about the safety, and yes, he's ready for it, 100%.
Okay, John, thanks very much indeed for joining us. We're just now going to actually have a word with the man himself, shall we? With Jensen Button talking in the Williams garage to Martin Brundle.
Okay, I'm with Jensen Button here in the Williams BMW garage. Jensen, all the British fans want to know, as you're minutes away from going out to the grid for your first Grand Prix, what's going through your mind?
Obviously, I'm a I'm a bit nervous being my first Grand Prix in a Formula 1 car, but I'm also looking forward to it, and I can't wait to be on the grid. I would have rather been a lot further forward on the grid, but being back in 21st, I think a lot of the pressure's off of me now.
Anyway, I can understand that. You seem very calm and collected. Qualifying was the nightmare scenario for you, wasn't it, with the car problems, jumping in the T car with just a few minutes to go. We've all experienced that in our Grand Prix careers, but you didn't need it in your very first Grand Prix. What happened through there?
Well, to start with, we went out in the race car. The setup felt good, looking for a good time, and we had some fuel problems. The engine was cutting out on the exit of the fast right-hand corners, so I had to come in, and the same thing happened again and again. So we moved to the T car, went out, thought it was going to be a good lap, yellow flags, and then the next lap it was red flags, so I didn't really get a chance to improve on my time.
And how did you keep you calm through that? Were you able to just breathe out and just keep your head because you had so few minutes left?
About 20 minutes to the end, I was a bit nervous because I still hadn't qualified for the race due to not being able to complete a lap. But afterwards, when I got the time, and the last few laps were very annoying because I knew that there was so much more in the car and in myself. But here we are.
How are you going to play the race? It looked quite good in the warm-up and a time much quicker than qualifying. How are you going to play the race?
I think I've just got to relax, and the first couple of laps I think are going to be pretty hectic from what I've seen in a first race of a season in Formula 1. It's going to be pretty hectic on the first couple of laps. I should think I'll be hanging back, and hopefully we'll get to the end, but we'll see. Good luck. We won't hold you up anymore. Have a great day.
You must be very proud looking at that. This is the day you've been dreaming of.
Yeah, that's right, but funny enough, when it's there, all I could think of was his university friends back home who must be sort of 10 feet off the ground, stuck to the ceiling by now. I'll see in the interview.
Also, two great letters, Jim, as well. Nigel Mansell wrote a nice letter to Jenson Button, so did John Surtees, with words of encouragement. I think that's brilliant from
Michael Schumacher gave him a nice handshake a little while ago on the grid there, didn't he?
That was a strange feeling to see that. Yeah, it took the trouble to do that.
We're all proud of him. We all hope he goes very well indeed, and we appreciate you joining us today, John. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, John.
And there we are, the outside. You probably have heard them. The RWF F111s dropping fuel and lighting the old afterburner. A spectacular sight above Albert Park at Melbourne. The Grand Prix due off in just under half an hour's time, and they always give terrific value, terrific entertainment here. I have to say, this is my favourite Grand Prix of the lot. Okay, well, we're talking about Jenson Button. His teammate Ralf Schumacher scored all 35 points for Williams last year. They finished 5th in the Constructors. And just to remind you, Mika Häkkinen ended up taking the driver's title by just 2 points from Eddie Irvine, who, of course, drives now for Jaguar. This time round, we have an extra race. It is the American Grand Prix. We're all looking forward to that one. Indianapolis, September the 24th. The British Grand Prix comes up very sharply indeed. Race 4, 23rd of April. That is Easter Sunday. And a race basically every fortnight right the way through till October the 22nd. Follow all the action right here on ITV. 17 races in all. Right then, what is to stop Mika Häkkinen winning the title 3 times in a row? There's Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, of course. And Häkkinen's teammate David Coulthard, who's just about reinvented himself in a bid to become #1. James Allen reporting.
This year, Mika Häkkinen will attempt to become the first man since Juan Fangio in the 1950s to win 3 consecutive world titles. But don't be fooled into thinking that Michael Schumacher is his only opposition. David Coulthard is determined to step out from Häkkinen's shadow.
He's obviously got more experience. He's, you know, the backbone of the team in terms of the emotional support. And, you know, I'm not making excuses. It's just a fact. And, you know, that when it comes down to the area that we have to perform in, then it comes down to tiny little differences, and it's probably meant that, you know, when it's come right down to the wire, he's been able to draw on that, where I haven't been able to draw on that. So really it's just a year's more experience, hopefully mentally a bit stronger, physically a bit fitter, and just take it from there. You know, what happened in the past doesn't mean that I can't change the future.
Obviously, David and me, you know, we're gonna try fast as we can all the time. And performance on the track is very small between me and David.
Over 4 seasons together, Häkkinen has clearly had the upper hand. He's won 14 times to Coulthard's 5, out-qualified the Scot comprehensively and scored a lot more points. The world champion is clear on what it takes to be McLaren's top dog.
I have definitely found a very good balance with myself, to find the best out of myself, to always being consistent, quick driver, and that comes down with the experience. David certainly is, I think, pushing very hard at the moment to achieve what he wants to achieve, which is a championship. I don't blame him for that.
Michael, another new season is upon us. Has missing out on half of last year changed your appetite, if you like, for this season?
I mean, you imagine, if at all, in the good way. I'm hungry more than ever. Last year would have been a good opportunity, and this year seems to be a very good opportunity, so I'm very hungry for that.
Is it still a love affair with Ferrari, or are you like an old married couple now?
No, in motorsport, I don't think you can say you're becoming a old married couple, because it's always changing, always new people. It's a sport, and may you start losing the motivation, and then you may feel that, but yet that's not the case.
This new car seems to be quite well born. It's compared to the way you were this time last year, you seem to be quite a lot faster from the testing times. Is that the case?
I mean, we were faster with the new car last year than the previous year, but the amount we are faster right now, it's quite reasonable, and we're quite happy on that. Secondly, we're quite reliable compared to last year. Initially, our car did have certain problems, and this year we went out and we didn't face many problems, and that is a good sign.
It's going to be a fascinating year, isn't it? Because, I mean, you're acknowledged as being the best driver of modern Formula One, and yet if Mika wins this year, he'll have won 3 World Championships during your career. I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't like that to happen at all, would you?
No. I mean, we are there not to let it happen, and we're confident it will not. But saying that, I mean, he did the last 2 years, he did a good job, no doubt. Last year was obviously a little bit special, but nevertheless, we will see what will happen this year.
It's a very interesting situation going on at McLaren at the moment, I'm sure you're aware of, with Coulthard saying he's reinvented himself over the winter. He's much more aggressive. He's going to come out of Häkkinen's shadow. I'm sure you're hoping that that will happen. You'll be able to perhaps profit from that situation.
Yeah, if it is the case, yes, exactly.
Do you think it could be the case?
If you want to have an honest answer,
yes.
I should say no, because I don't see anyone changing suddenly, unless Mika gets tired and slows down. But David is David, and he has his ups, he has his downs, and he will not be a new man for whatever reason suddenly. It may be the case this car suit him a little bit better, and therefore he can deliver more consistent times and job, but I would doubt it, honestly.
You haven't won the title, of course, now since 1995. Have you almost forgotten what it feels like?
I won enough races to have this satisfaction, and to some degree, certain races give you a similar pleasure than a World Championship. The way you win them, and I remember Hungary in '98, or last year the Malaysia race, or Monaco. So you don't really forget, because I keep practicing.
Ominously confident, Michael Schumacher. Now, all of us on the ITV Formula One team think of this place, Albert Park, Melbourne, with great affection. It was the scene of our first Grand Prix back in 1997. This is the 50th, by the way. We always have high temperatures and high drama when we come to Melbourne, and last year was no exception.
Well, what a dramatic start to the Grand Prix. All looks a bit amateur hour at the moment.
It's a demonstration race at the present moment, and there is the proof. Mika Häkkinen leading, David Coulthard in second position.
Coulthard
missing, where is he? 10 out of the race goes Coulthard.
And that was a big scare for Villeneuve, just minding his own business, and boom, the rear wing goes. Häkkinen's got a lot of work to do with the Ferrari climbing all over his rim. No acceleration, Murray, he's out of the race.
Great sight for all those Formula One cars. Think of the millions of pounds worth of value on the track there.
Didn't realise we got so many left in the race, actually.
Teddy Irvine gesticulating at Zonta. Move over. Zonta's holding him up. Teddy Irvine in the Ferrari just wins the Australian
Keep going, Eddie, the
Grand
line's
Prix.
there, that's it, well done.
Fabulous.
Eddie Irvine, very much the champagne boy. Rubens Barrichello, who's replaced him in the Ferrari team, will be racing his first Grand Prix for Ferrari today. We hope to hear from Eddie Irvine very shortly. Jenson Button, just under 20 minutes away from the start. What moments these for the young man who will start on the back row, the 20-year-old for Williams. When you rejoin us, it'll be time for Martin Brundle's Grid Walk.
C'est presque fini, c'est fermé. Si c'est possible, tu viens
Tu me dis là,
oui.
si c'est pas possible, on les fait venir.
Oui, oui, tout de suite.
In Melbourne, the Australian Grand Prix remains the country's biggest sporting event. Albert Park will stage the race for the next 5 years at least. We have had record crowds already. They're expecting about 125,000 today. Let's have a word with Eddie Irvine, shall we? Set for his first Jaguar drive, and talking now to Louise Goodman.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. What?
Start again. Eddie, at the start of this weekend, Johnny was talking about Jaguar possibly pulling off a surprise win. Now, he's going to be pushed from where he's starting.
It would surprise me.
Could you do it from here?
You never know. If we can get to the finish, there's plenty of cars ahead of us that probably mightn't be able to. That's our only chance, but I would say we're probably slightly worse off than a few cars in front of us. You know, I'd say McLaren are looking pretty strong. They've done a few race distances, so we just gotta hope for best. You know, it's early days yet. We just gotta. It'll be nice, but I'm not holding my breath.
Stood here in the Melbourne sunshine, does it bring back any memories of your victory, your first victory here last year?
I've forgotten all about that now. Honestly, it's I'm thinking about this afternoon, and then after this afternoon, you think about next week, and you know, history.
Best of luck to that all-British Jaguar team. Martin Brundle believes in finding the stars on the grid walk, and I think interview 1 in the year 2000 is going to set a very high standard. Martin.
Hello, Jim. Hello, everybody. Congratulations for getting up early or setting your video correctly. The big story here is, and nobody seems to know the answer, is which is fastest, the Ferrari or the McLaren? Ferrari seems to have a one-lap pace, but the McLaren are on the front row of the grid. My tip at the moment is the piano sitting here at the front of the grid. I've never seen that before. I don't know whether it's wired in or anything, but what on earth it's doing there, I have no idea. Here's a man I want to have a quick word with, George Harrison. George, you're looking fantastic. You've had a pretty terrible trauma recently, and it's great to see you here. You're a big friend of Formula One.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm fine, and as you can see, I'm fit again. I came very close, but I'm feeling okay. You know, everything's good.
Okay, there's one.
Thank everybody who sent me messages. It was overwhelming, you know. That helped a lot to recover.
You were a big fan of Damon Hills. Who are you going to support now Damon's not racing?
Well, I mean, I didn't just support Damon. Damon was a friend and is a friend of mine, and I, you know, obviously like to see him win. But I like many of the drivers, and it's easier to say the ones I don't like, actually.
All right, well, it's good to see you. I need to just wander around here and see if I can find. Thank you very much. Now, I want to see if I can find somebody who can give us a bit of a nod on what they think. I don't know whether anybody will talk to me. I'll give it a try. If I was them, I wouldn't, I have to tell you now. But anyway, let's give it a try. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Mika. Mika. Hello, Mika. Are you interested to talk to me today?
No.
Okay, good. So we'll carry on then.
all right.
Listen, I'm just telling our viewers over in England that really it's very confusing. Who's fastest, Ferrari or McLaren?
Well, look at the grid.
I know, but what about the warm-up? What about yesterday morning?
Well, you know, what about yesterday morning? I did only 6 laps or something like that.
Well, that's true, yeah. You didn't get much running on the track. I have to say you were pretty...
But I understand what you're saying, you know. The racing is very tough at the moment. I think, you know, us and Ferrari, the times are very close. The lap time different maybe is 1/10, 2/10, only is that. So
maximum attack today, then it's going to be harder than last year.
It's going to be very hard indeed, you know, and just have to stay cool. You know, my mission here is to score points.
Thanks, mate. I'm going to go down the grid and see what Ferrari say. See you later. Actually, I think we're running extremely short of time. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to throw back to the studio.
Well done, Martin. George Harrison and the world champion. A decent return from Martin's first grid walk. Well, as I've been saying, reliability really always the key to this first Grand Prix. Just 8 cars finishing last year. It's hotter today. And when it comes to strategy, that heat and a new regulation governing speed in the pit lane are both crucial. Here's James Allen.
There is one new rule in Formula One this year which hasn't had an awful lot of airplay, but which will have a significant effect on the outcome of today's race. The pit lane speed limit has been reduced from 120 kilometres an hour to 80 kilometres an hour. Now that may not sound like much, but it's going to add 4.5 seconds to the time it takes to make a pit stop. And mathematically, it'll probably push the teams towards doing 1 stop rather than 2. They'll fill the cars with about 95 kilos of fuel at the start and go through to a pit stop window of about lap 28 to 33. Now, tactically, if I were McLaren, I would send Mika Häkkinen out on a 2-stop strategy today. Take advantage of the clear track in front of him, let him build up a big lead, about 25, 26 seconds, to allow him to overtake everybody in the pit stops. Everybody else, of course, probably going for that 1-stopper. Of course, that flies in the face of everything that David said about what he wants to achieve this season. It's very early in the year for McLaren to do something like that as well, but we will see.
Thank you very much indeed, James. Bachelor girl. All-Australian girl group. That's what the piano was for anyway, that's explained it. 23 degrees we are, 42 degrees on the track and 67% humidity. My apologies, it is the Australian national anthem. Formula One's winter hibernation is almost over. We're about to discover who'll rule in Aussie this time round.
Craig Pollock, is today the day you finally get your first Formula One points?
We've certainly worked hard enough to do that. It looks like our reliability could be there, and I think anybody that finishes the race risks to be in the points, so let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Now, you went to South Africa for hot weather testing, but it rained all the time. Did you get to do any work in these sort of temperatures?
In reality, very little. That's the reason we went down to South Africa, but the weather bit us in the rear end. We expected to get very warm weather, and we had nothing but rain, but if it was a wet setup, we'd be perfect.
Craig, best of luck, thanks.
ITV Sport welcomes you back to Albert Park, Melbourne. It's curtain up for the new season. Enjoy the Australian Grand Prix with Martin Brundle and the man affectionately described in these parts as Vroom Vroom Walker. Hiya, Murray.
Jim, thank you. They've designed the new cars, they've tested them for weeks, they've polished and honed every facet of their teams. They've qualified for the Australian Grand Prix, and now, look down, it's almost time to race. Round 1 of 17 starts the 2000 Formula One World Championship here in Melbourne. Almost time to go. Perfect weather, fabulous location. Who's going to win? Well, who knows? I'll tell you something, Jean Alesi is in real trouble for his first drive for Prost. Into the garage, out of the car, with a very unhappy expression on his face. They've now put him in the spare car in the garage. He'll be starting from the pit lane. But there is the man, and Martin, he amazes me. You walk up to him, he's about to get in the car, the double world champion, and start the Australian Grand Prix. You put a microphone in his face and he talks to you.
Must be the vodka they have going through their veins, I think, up there in Finland. And yeah, Mika does seem very cool, actually. And yesterday he was particularly brilliant, I think, having missed most of the morning. To stick the car on pole was quite sensational, and certainly gave Michael Schumacher something to think about. Michael was in the press conference saying, hey, third or fourth, it doesn't really matter. But it does matter to him. He was very angry about it. And I know people who know him and saw him later on saw a completely different Michael Schumacher. But what's confusing is just how fast that Ferrari seems to be when they, you know, when they can string a few laps together. Michael says we didn't use our tyres properly in qualifying, so you know the paddock is pretty much expecting the two Ferraris, if they don't get ahead at the start, to be pushing the McLarens quite hard. But you know, we were wrong about that yesterday.
The amazing thing is the first 5 on the grid are absolutely identical to last year. 2 McLarens again on the front row of the grid, 2 Ferraris on the front row of the grid, but 4th last year was Rubens Barrichello. He's 4th this year. Last year it was in a Stewart, and this year in a Ferrari. 5th on the grid, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and his new teammate, Jarno Trulli, and he's been going well. But no one has said this yet, and it needs to be said, I think. Jenson Button, of whom so much is expected and he's got so much attention being paid to him, was actually 2nd fastest in the warm-up this morning. And that is quite incredible when you bear in mind that he went off the track yesterday, had all sorts of problems. I thought he was astonishingly calm, cool and collected when you were talking to him.
Yeah, he did seem very mature, didn't he? I mean, I'm sure the warm-up time was a bit of a confidence booster, probably not on full fuel, because you know, he was best part of 1.5, 2 seconds faster than teammate Schumacher. Well, then it's a spectacular time that means he should be screaming through the field. I think we should reserve judgment on that one, but nonetheless, it was a lap time, however much fuel he was on, that was within half a second of Ralph's qualifying time yesterday. So, and Ralph would have had no fuel in the car. Of course, nice and cool conditions this morning, unlike the track temperatures of 51 degrees towards the end of qualifying yesterday, which, as we've spoken about before, gives up an awful lot of grip. I can see a Lacey out of the window here, lining up at the end of the pit lane. Now that's a drama, because that means everything is cold. He's not going to get an installation lap to go round to the grid. Stone cold brakes, stone cold engine and gearbox. Tyres not up to full operating temperature at all. They're already losing heat now the blankets are off. That's Salo. That's a different picture. That's Salo actually on the grid, of course, in the Sauber. So a Lacey, and I know in '96 I started the second race here from the pit lane, and it was staggering how little grip you had when you arrived into those first few corners. But Lacey's experienced enough, the most experienced man on the grid, to cope with that.
Pedro de la Rosa in the new Arrows are very impressive in his 2, and his teammate Jos Verstappen is 13th on the grid. So a 58-lap race. And there they are, soon to start the formation lap, the parade lap before the start, the Australian Grand Prix. And this, of course, is the formation lap. Mika Häkkinen, David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, and if anybody drops back incidentally or has a bad start, they are now allowed to take up position on the formation lap. Unfortunately, that has not happened.
Yes, they're all away nice and cleanly, and all of the cars on your right-hand side of the grid, the left of the grid from the driver's perspective, have an advantage. That is the racing line. That is going to be cleaner. Fortunately here, there's an awful lot of races through the 4-day period, and it does tend to even that grid up a little bit in terms of the level of grip. But still, Häkkinen's side of the grid, the odd numbers, will have more grip away.
Well, fingers crossed for a good start. It was aborted last year. Michael Schumacher stalled his engine and had to start from the back of the grid, and then the 2 Stewarts nearly burst into flames.
Interesting tactics here. Look how hard the 2 McLaren boys are taking that field round. That's very unusual. Normally, they'll have to back off in another couple of corners and bring the field together. Otherwise, they'll be standing at the front of the grid for the best part of a minute. They've got to hold the field up towards the end, but they really did scream away. Looked pretty much like a tactic to me.
This is the approach of turn 11 and turn 12, the right-hander there. They accelerate up to about 165 miles an hour as they go past the Powerhouse Exhibition Centre, the one with the white roof there then down. This is a 16-turn course. The lap is 3.27 miles.
Everybody, my understanding is everybody except Jenson Button on the softer tyres, and I'm also expecting very long first runs here, probably mid-30s in terms of laps before they come in. I think Ferrari were experimenting with two-stop fuel this morning, probably more to rattle the cage of McLaren than anything. I'm really fully expecting them all to one stop, and as the tyres appear to give more grip as they get older around here for whatever reason, the compound has changed this year. It seems a bit more durable. We're expecting them really to try and stay on those tyres as long as they can. That means the cars are very heavy on the line, Murray.
Yep, and a credible thing in the warm-up this morning, Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari was fastest, an amazing 1.6 seconds faster than anybody else. Quite what that means, I don't know.
What it means exactly is the difference between running a one-stop fuel load and a two-stop fuel load. That weight put into the computer equates exactly, and what it also means is there's very little in the pace between Ferrari and McLaren.
We'll see. There are the two McLarens. World champion Mika Häkkinen driving through the heat haze. David Coulthard peels off behind him. Michael Schumacher pulls up behind Häkkinen. Barrichello behind David Coulthard. There are the two yellow Jordans in their new brighter livery.
Yes, Coulthard and Frentzen have lined themselves up at a slight angle to try to get over on that cleaner line as soon as possible, and Alesi patiently waiting in what must seem a very quiet pit lane.
Well, he was starting 17th on the grid. He's now effectively starting 22nd. A big penalty, not as bad as it might have been, though. And just look at the heat. It's about 40 degrees on the track down here.
Lights are on, the red lights are on.
3 lights, 4 lights, 5. It'll go out, and it will be go in Australia. Lovely start by Mika Häkkinen. David Coulthard's going well. Schumacher is third, and coming up very well is Harold Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. He's past Rubens Barrichello. Rubens Barrichello goes down a place, and it looks to me as though everybody is through the first sequence of corners, and Mika Häkkinen has got David Coulthard riding behind him. There is Rubens Barrichello. A terrific long jam of cars. Are they all going to get round this corner? Yes, they do. Round the Sports Centre corner. And so it is McLaren leading as it was last year. McLaren second as it was last year. Michael Schumacher is third. Frentzen is fourth. Barrichello is fifth. Trulli is sixth. And in seventh position, well up, is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR.
Yes, despite all of their practice and testing to get away, the Ferraris were both particularly tardy off the line. And fortunately, Michael Schumacher was able to stay ahead of the Jordans, but Rubens Barrichello dropping down to fifth place.
Well, I tell you, the Jenson Button is going through this field like a hot knife through butter. I saw the last 5 together, and he was not amongst them. Indeed, I believe he's up with his teammate Ralf Schumacher. We'll have to look down the field. He's up into 15th position. Jenson Button has moved up from 21st on the grid to 15th before the end of the first lap. Mika Häkkinen, there he is, from Finland, in the McLaren. And now, look, this is very different to last year. Last year, the two McLarens, Häkkinen and Coulthard, majestically strode away from Michael Schumacher. They're not doing it this time, but the first 3 are stretching away from the first Jordan. Lap 1 completed. Look at the gap there. This is great stuff already, and we've got to have 58 laps of this. It's going to be a long, hard, tiring race. Hard on brakes. When are the fuel stops going to come? McLaren, Ferrari, Jordan, Ferrari. Marc Genet has gone into the pits already, and at the end of the first lap, Jenson Button is in 15th place. Behind Rubens Barrichello, Trulli is 6th, Villeneuve is 7th, Mika Salo is in 8th position. Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar has dropped down 2 places tonight.
And Herbert is out of the race. Johnny Herbert, who's had an appalling weekend, is already out of the race. He's at the end of the pit lane here, so he's past the white line, now in vision with you, and, well, no way they can recover that car, and there's no point in doing so anyway, and Johnny, well, what's he got to do? We say this every year, don't we?
Do. Well, Jaguar have got a very special oiling system combining the oil in the engine and the gearbox. It's given a lot of trouble and is continuing to do so.
And I don't know what's going to happen here. It looks like, oh, and this is why Johnny's out of the race. Look, he was minding his own business, going around the outside, and a Sauber and probably a BAR on the inside touched and just ran into him, has clearly damaged his car.
Yeah, I was just looking to see where Herbert was at the time.
What's interesting here, Murray, is the McLarens are actually just stretching away gently. Look, it was 1.4-second lead that Häkkinen had over Schumacher at the end of the first lap. Let's see what it is this time round. 2.2, look, so he's a full 8/10 up. So Michael Schumacher not showing that blistering pace yet.
You heard what James Allen was saying, that it was sensible strategy, see, to a lot of people to put Mika Häkkinen on a two-stop strategy, David Coulthard on a one-stop strategy between Häkkinen and Schumacher, which is where he is now. That would fit the circumstances at the present moment, with Mika Häkkinen definitely making the pace and a gap developing between Schumacher, who is third, and Frentzen, who is fourth. That gap, 3.4 seconds.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Häkkinen's on a two-stopper, to be honest, because I think that means unless he can really skate off into the distance, at some point he would have to overtake at least one of the Ferraris. So I think Häkkinen is just blisteringly fast in these early stages, which almost Senna-esque he's tended to be in the last few years.
Yeah, Mika Häkkinen has got this incredible ability, which he demonstrated yesterday, to pull out something very, very special when it's needed. He did it for qualifying yesterday when he took that pole position for the 22nd time in his career. He's doing it again right now.
Well, both McLarens failed on Saturday morning, where Ron Dennis assures me they know exactly what the problem was and it can't reoccur. Remember, the Ferrari was far more bulletproof last year in the reliability stakes than McLaren could achieve. So Michael will be probably reasonably happy sitting there, slightly disappointed the McLarens are pulling away from him, but it seems like he's pegged it this time around.
Well, the thing that's interesting me at the moment is that I did not expect, the gap has increased very slightly to 2.4 seconds between Häkkinen and Schumacher. I did not expect Heinz-Harald Frentzen to get ahead of Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari as quickly as he has, and to stay there. They're battling very closely on the track. We haven't seen them, but the Jordan is tucked right up under, and behind is Jarno Trulli in 6th position. So the two Jordans are 4th and 6th. Here are the leaders, McLaren, Ferrari, then Frentzen, then Barrichello, then Trulli.
Yes, I expect to see more of Barrichello later in this race. He's particularly good around this racetrack. Plus, he's been so mature all through the weekend and so calm. He seems to be completely under control. Louise is with Johnny Herbert.
Johnny, that was hardly worth doing your seatbelts up, was it?
Well, it's been a weekend like that, to be honest. It's been very difficult for everybody. We knew we had an engine sort of problem. We hoped we'd come here and obviously got rid of most of that, but we still haven't. So we've got to put ourselves together, obviously, regroup, really delve into it and find the problem, of course. We have a few other reliability issues as well we need to do. But, you know, generally it's, we know the car, when it runs, is actually a capable car. But obviously it's just a bit frustrating, like today, where you get a good start, you're getting a little bit, all right, it was a bit, I think Pedro got pushed by someone, he got pushed into me. But then the clutch went directly after that, so I was already on my way out, which is, you know, it's just a shame because we need the mileage now.
Things can only get better.
Well, you're watching now the Jordan followed by the Ferrari. It's Frentzen and Barrichello. Just behind them in 6th position is Jarno Trulli. Where is Johnny Herbert's teammate Eddie Irvine in the other Jaguar? He started 7th. He's been passed by both the arrows of Verstappen and De La Rosa and Mika Salo's Sauber and Villeneuve's BAR. So Eddie Irvine, the man who won this race for Ferrari last year, is down in 11th place. And Mika Häkkinen has now just made another fastest lap of the race. He's really flying, 1 minute 33.9.
Well, Barrichello's got a job on to pass that Jordan, which is not too slow in any part of this racetrack. Barrichello's got the faster car at the moment, that's clear to see. But has he got enough of an advantage? There really are so few places around here. The braking and turn-in areas are short and very high-speed turn-ins, for example, into this chicane, and doesn't offer any overtaking opportunities. That's a Lacey trying to make up ground, trying to overtake the Sauber, and clearly locks the rear wheels, probably on downshift as he headed into the apex with a bit too much speed, and that's put him probably straight to the rear again.
Yeah, his dander is well and truly up. He had made his way up from last to 18th. As we look at Jacques Villeneuve now, 7th position in the BAR, and right behind him is Mika Salo in the Sauber, the man who drove for Ferrari and BAR last year. Salo in the Sauber with the Ferrari engine, and Jacques Villeneuve will be looking not just for another finish, he didn't have many of those last year, but for BAR's first point as Pedro de la Rosa of Verstappen. Have a look at Mika Salo. The new orange arrows are going magnificently with the Supertech engine. They've got a brand new chassis, they've got two very tidy drivers, and one of them, Pedro de la Rosa, you can see in 10th position, is swarming about all over Salo, and behind the second one, Jos Verstappen, is Eddie Irvine in the Jag.
Yes, and I'm expecting that arrows to be quick through the entire race. Looking at it, remember I said in qualifying yesterday, it's very supple at the rear. It seems like it rides the track and the bumps and the curbs, and I think that'll pay dividends if they're doing very long stints to keep the tyres better intact. Running quite wide there, Verstappen, but the arrows seeming to be confirming their winter season pace. Salo doing very well there in 8th place too in his first race for Sauber.
Lap 6 out of 58. There's the leader, Mika Häkkinen. You can see how far he is ahead of David Coulthard. Look now for the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. It's about 2.8 seconds down the road as Häkkinen comes through to complete his 6th lap. But Michael Schumacher is still very, very much in touch with the leaders. Frentzen is still 4th, then Barrichello and Trulli. Mika Häkkinen has just done another fastest lap, and Michael Schumacher goes quicker again. Michael Schumacher is piling on the pace. He's closing slightly. He's got it down to 2.7 seconds.
Yes, Schumacher's very fast in the last section of the racetrack, over half a second a lap faster than McLaren's, and that's where he's able to make it up. So Michael beginning his charge now. Barrichello still tucked up behind Frentzen by just 0.2 of a second. Button dropped back to 16th place. He's lapping about 2.5 seconds slower than the leaders per lap.
And that is nothing to be ashamed of in his first race. Incidentally, it's the first race, of course, for the BMW V10 engine in the two Williams cars of Jenson Button and Ralf Schumacher, who is in 13th position, Ralf Schumacher. And David Coulthard is now taking up the attack. Fastest first sector this lap of 3.3 miles is split into 3 sectors. Eddie Irvine has spun, and it looks as though both Jaguars are likely to be able to shove off, says Eddie Irvine to the marshal.
Yeah, well, the engine stalled, so Eddie's just trying to manoeuvre it, 3-point turn it out of the way, and he wanted to decide which direction it was going in. So the safety car is standing by, we see from the computer here, but I think they'll clear that more than quickly.
Oh,
there's a wheel off there too, so whose wheel is that? Somebody else must have crashed in there too, you know, because Eddie Irvine had 4 wheels. Eddie Irvine had 4 wheels on his car. Look, there it is. So somebody else, not in our... Safety car is out. Safety car deployed, and we think it's De La Rosa has gone off into the wall.
Well, that makes sense because they were together in 10th and 11th places. And as in 1999, so in the year 2000, the safety car goes out, which gives Michael Schumacher the opportunity to close up on David Coulthard, and David Coulthard to close right up on the race leader, Mika Häkkinen. There they are, first, second and third.
What I suspect happened is De La Rosa's gone off and collected Irvine or distracted Irvine in the process, but we're waiting for a replay of that. Now let's have a look here. We're going to find out. De La Rosa running wide, look, and he's lost control there.
That's very strange.
Is that the same car?
I
think that's Verstappen.
That was Verstappen, not De La Rosa.
Yeah, and this is the look, the front suspension failure on Verstappen's car. I wonder if it was the same problem for De La Rosa. So both arrows off in the same lap.
Well, a bad opening Grand Prix for Jaguar with Johnny Herbert and Eddie Irvine both out by the 8th lap. Don't be too discouraged, though. There's a long and very steep climb in Formula One to reach the top. And Jaguar are right at the bottom of the ladder now, starting with what was the Stewart team, but there's a lot of new things in it and a completely new motor car. So we're now on lap 8 out of 58. The field will close right up while they remove the broken bits of motor car, and the race will effectively restart, but from a rolling start instead of a standing start.
Good news for Jensen, of course. That's moved him up to 13th place and enables him to close back up to the leading pack. So at the moment he's tucked up. He was just 0.6 of a second behind Wirtz before the safety car came out.
Now, one of the problems in this sort of a situation is to make the safety car go fast enough. Well, we'll soon see, but whilst this temporary lull is happening, we're going to take a break. Into lap 10 of the 58-lap Australian Grand Prix. The safety car still out, and as I said, the race effectively restarting. Sprinting out from the pit lane comes Pedro Diniz in the Sauber, and bringing up the rear is Marc Genet there in the newly liveried Minardi, very much improved motor car. And the news, incidentally, that the takeover by the Spanish Telefonica organisation is almost completed, and it's quite likely that it will have been by the time of the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, in which case the Minardi team will all move out to Spain from Italy. And the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. You know that when you see the lights go out on the roof, the safety car comes into the pit lane. And mark this very carefully, the drivers are not allowed to pass until they have crossed the line. And Eddie Irvine realised that very smartly last year by hanging back when Mika Häkkinen, the race leader, actually faltered. Eddie Irvine passed him after the line and took over the lead.
Well, they put Verstappen back out on the track. They have repaired that apparent suspension damage, so hopefully they can understand exactly what the failure was all about. But they're going around there now. Their tyres are going to be 60 degrees centigrade. They need to be about 90. Their brakes are going to be 300 to 400 centigrade. They need to be 600 to 700. So they have to be very careful when they start this new lap, because as the tyre temperatures go down, so do the pressures. They're running normally about 20, 21 PSI. They're probably 15 or 16 now, so the car runs lower, and now they've got to try and build up some kind of temperature as they lead into the restart. Häkkinen is in control. Once that safety car pulls off, Mika Häkkinen becomes the new safety car, and he has the control as to when to move over the line.
Häkkinen leading, Coulthard second, Schumacher third, fourth is Frentzen in the yellow car, fifth is Barrichello in the Ferrari, sixth is Trulli in the second Jordan, seventh is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, eighth is Mika Salo in the Sauber, ninth is Fisichella, 10th is Ralf Schumacher, and the safety car is in, and the Australian Grand Prix again is go! Häkkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, and the gap between them 1.4 seconds.
I can never understand that, why they don't bury the nose of their cars under the gearbox of the one in front, why they allow the restart to take place without being as close as possible to the car in front. I know you have to a certain extent, react to when, for example, in this case, Häkkinen decides to pull away, but they don't, not like the IndyCar drivers, where they really seem to maximise this opportunity to overtake. The F1 drivers seem quite happy to go in line astern.
As they are now, there's the McLaren leading, McLaren second, Ferrari third, Jordan fourth, Ferrari fifth, Jordan sixth. The top 3 rows on the grid are the top 6 cars in the race, albeit in a slightly different order, because Frentzen is ahead of Barrichello. And in 7th position there's Villeneuve, right behind him is Salo, right behind him Fisichella and Ralf Schumacher in the leading BMW Williams. That is in 10th position. Jenson Button, by the way, is 13th in the race. Lap 11 out of 58. Here they come.
Michael Schumacher very close to David Coulthard this time around, not close enough to have a stab in the braking area, but he's certainly giving David something to look at in his mirrors, and Schumacher making a better fist of this early part of this restart when, as I said, all the temperatures are down, and Häkkinen, as ever, scampering away.
And Barrichello challenging the Jordan in front of him of Heinz Harald Frentzen. In comes David Coulthard. Now, this is a very, very early stop. Good heavens. Whatever strategy he's on, I wouldn't have expected a 2-stop strategy to come in before another 8 laps.
I wonder if he's got a puncture. There was a lot of debris on the track from the De La Rosa accident. I've got a feeling it's a left rear puncture for David Coulthard. It looked a little bit out of shape, that tyre. Bit of a guess on my part there, but I can only assume it's a puncture from Coulthard.
Well, it must be that, and Coulthard, of course, is losing place after place after place, and Michael Schumacher has now only got one McLaren in front of him, and it is the McLaren of reigning world champion Mika Häkkinen.
Mechanics are having a look at something else at the back there. David's obviously reported in, hey, I've got a funny handling, and what are they doing now? They're working on some kind of inlet on the side pod there, so they normally put some kind of electrical umbilical cord in there. He's got a fire in there, look. He's got a fire. James, hey, can you see anything?
Yeah, a huge amount of smoke coming out, as you say, from the left side pod, trying to clear something. I think he may have picked up some debris. It may well just be moisture. Mechanic's happy. Car is on its way. It wasn't a fire, it was just a precaution. A little bit of a blast of the carbon fire extinguisher just to keep the underside of the floor cool.
And of course, he is now very much last in the race. David Coulthard came in on lap 14 last year to retire with broken throttle assembly. Mika Häkkinen followed him later on during the race. And now Coulthard down last of all.
No, look, there's a lot of smoke coming out of there, Murray. Sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of smoke coming out of the back of Coulthard's car as he turned into that corner.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
there it is.
That's it. David Coulthard out of the race. Well, it's a brand new Mercedes engine produced by Ilmor over the winter.
Oil pouring out from underneath. I saw fluid dripping out from underneath, so the oil and the water jackets have been mixed up in the middle there somewhere, and a fairly terminal engine failure for Coulthard. He's about as lucky as Johnny Herbert, isn't he?
Lap 13, Häkkinen leads Schumacher by just over 2 seconds. Frentzen is up into 3rd place, challenged by Rubens Barrichello. There is the leader. 5th is Jarno Trulli, he's moved up a place. In the points is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, followed by Mika Salo. Fisichella is 8th, Schumacher is 9th, Jenson Button is up into 12th position.
I tell you, anybody can score points today. I think anybody has got a chance. As you see the engine letting on Coulthard's car, people have just got to stay on the racetrack this afternoon somehow, because, look, we've already got how many cars left in the race?
Well,
just
Herbert
16,
is out.
I think, at the moment.
Yeah, Herbert is out, Irvine is out, De La Rosa is out, Coulthard is out, 22 started. So there are 18 left in the race. We're on lap 13. Michael Schumacher is speeding up. Mika Häkkinen, I can see him in his mirrors, and there is the Finn, the flying Finn as he calls himself.
Yes, and we're not even a quarter of the way through the race yet, so plenty of action to come, and reliability seeming a big issue.
Yeah, look at the side pods, incidentally, of that leading McLaren. There's a new design feature. You see the kind of couple of trumpets sticking up out of the back. There they are, thank you very much. That is to get rid of the hot air from the radiators without affecting the airflow over the wings. If it works, the others will have it soon. If it doesn't, McLaren will drop it. But they've done a lot of testing, so it must work.
Hakkinen a full 0.6 of a second faster on that lap than Michael Schumacher. His lead up to 2.9. He's no longer got a rear gunner in the form of David Coulthard to help him out, so he's decided to pick up the pace.
Obviously very bad news for McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. The most points they can hope for now are 10 from Mika Hakkinen winning this race, and it's by no means certain he's going to do it. And Ferrari could score 10 points if they could get Rubens Barrichello behind Michael Schumacher up into third position. But that's speculation. There's a long, long way to go, and Hakkinen is now leading Schumacher by an increased margin of 2.9 seconds. Clear track behind Schumacher. Frentzen and Barrichello pretty close together. There they are, rounding turn 12 on their way to the golf course corner. And in 5th and 6th position, both the Jordans, incidentally, are doing well. Jarno Trulli is 5th.
Yes, Coulthard's car must have been incredibly hot, having had the safety car laps where they can tend to pick up a lot of engine temperature, not much air going through the side pods, and then that awfully long pit stop. And it doesn't surprise me at all. He had engine failure on the way out. Whether it was his reason for going in or not is another matter. Louise is down with Eddie Irvine.
Eddie, from the camera angles that we could see, it was a bit difficult to tell who collected who. Talk us through it.
No one collected anyone. Della Rosa just hit the wall and bounced out in the middle. I lifted to slow down. The car just spun the minute I lifted. This is a handling thing we've been talking about.
So there is Frentzen, and behind him Barrichello. Now this is looking good for Jordan. I was talking to Mike Gascoigne, the designer, just before the race started, and he was very, very optimistic about their chances. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who joined Jordan last year and won 2 races for them, finished 2nd here in Australia and showed how happy he was in his then new team. And he's now a completely rejuvenated driver, showing all the class and style that we always thought he'd got, keeping ahead of Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari. Now we are with
You're on board Barrichello.
The Ferrari of Barrichello now in 4th position, looking at Frentzen ahead of us. What's he thinking, Martin?
He's thinking, I need to get past this Jordan in a hurry. I'm already 10 seconds behind the leader, and he's currently lapping 1.3, 1.4 slower than Michael Schumacher, his teammate. So that gives you a gauge of how much time it's costing him in the turbulent air coming off of the back of that Jordan. And there's a few areas of this racetrack where it's very difficult to follow another car and actually see your line too. So Rubens needs to really have quite a big stab anytime soon. And just to translate what Eddie Irvine said, basically, Della Rosa went off in front of him. He lifted the throttle in avoidance and spun off. So that's quite an alarming handling trait that Eddie referred to as having spoken about before this weekend.
Great to see that on-board stuff from the car, incidentally. We hope to show you a lot more of that this year. And Barrichello crowding Heinz-Harald Frentzen's Jordan with Trulli behind him. Trulli is another driver, of course, who has moved from the Prost team last year to Jordan, and news from James Allen.
I'm just looking at this situation, same as you guys, with Barrichello stuck behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen. It seems to me that Ferrari and McLaren are very much on the same pace, like lapping in the 132s, the 133s, on roughly the same strategy. But I'm pretty sure that Jordan's got a lot of fuel on board. They did it a lot last year. Frentzen was strong with a heavy car. He was able to push it right to the limit. And of course, that safety car period will really have helped him. He'll have been able to go longer into the race. We might even see him coming in around lap 40, 45 even, with that fuel conservation he was able to do under the safety car. He is a player in this race because, of course, Ferrari and McLaren still have some question marks about their reliability.
We've just reached just over a quarter distance of this race, Murray, and we've got a situation where Hakkinen 3.4 seconds ahead of Schumacher, who's a further 8 ahead of Frentzen, and Barrichello, as you can see, just 0.4 of a second behind.
Now, the race could be transformed by drivers being on different strategies. We don't know what the situation is. It's difficult to see, I think, Häkkinen and Schumacher being on different strategies to each other, but they might well be.
New fastest lap for Michael Schumacher, taking 0.3 of a second out of Häkkinen that time around on a 1:32.4.
Now, it's a pity we can't see it, because from 9th place down to 13th, there is a colossal battle going on between Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams, Zonta in the BAR, Merckx in the Benetton, Jenson Button is tucked up underneath his rear wing, and Jean Alesi is up there as well. But we look now at the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. Now, where is he in rally? You can see he's out of sight of Mika Häkkinen on this part of the course, but he's quicker. The gap between the two is now 3.2 seconds. The fastest lap we've had is Michael Schumacher, 1:32.47. Fastest lap we had last year was 0.3 of a second slower than that by Michael Schumacher himself. We're on lap 17. There's a long way to go. We're going to leave you, but be back soon. Zonta from Brazil.
Häkkinen out, Murray. I think that's Häkkinen slowing.
Mika Häkkinen out of the race. Both McLarens, as they were in 1999, retiring, and Michael Schumacher goes into the lead. And it looks as though if he can keep going, he's in a very strong position to do well in Australia, which is something he has never done before. Mustn't get too excited about the situation, but a very, very unhappy race for McLaren, as it was last year. Last year they had the fastest car, but they had problem after problem through the season. And there's no doubt about the fact that it was reliability that cost them the Constructors' World Championship. Schumacher leads. The flags are flying. There is the proof. Schumacher leads the Australian Grand Prix. Häkkinen is out of it. Coulthard is out of it. Frentzen, as he was last year, is in second place, but behind a different Ferrari. Last year it was Eddie Irvine's car. This year it is that man's car, Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello is third in the second Ferrari, and James Allen is in the pits.
Well, Murray, I watched that drama unfold down here in the McLaren garage. Actually, it was just beginning to kick off, just before we went to the break. Everything crossed that Mika Häkkinen wouldn't retire during a break, just thinking about all the letters we get. But basically, I think it's some form of power problem. The engineers started to sense there was some difficulties. They were looking at the computer screens. They had some batteries ready. On the lower left-hand side of the side pod, there was something that they were going to hopefully top up, or it was something to do with power, electricity, I feel. It's a problem that Häkkinen had, of course, yesterday morning. He only got about 4 or 5 laps in of the morning practice session. They had to change the whole back end of the car. I think it's the same problem, possibly revisited. Something to do with power failure anyway. McLaren mechanics, of course, completely gutted. Worked very hard this weekend. Thought they were onto something here. But again, once again, second year in a row, going home with nothing.
I suspect they were trying to recharge the air valve system, probably, James. And in that case, judging by the amount of smoke coming out of the back, may well be similar to Coulthard's car in that it was running out of compressed air for the valve system. And another retirement now. Dinitz in the Sauber, so that means we're going to be down to just 15 cars.
Only 8 finished last year. Mika Häkkinen adjusting his new hairstyle as he takes his helmet off. But Michael Schumacher now with some 38 laps still to go, leads by a comfortable 17 seconds from Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Rubens Barrichello right behind Frentzen's Jordan, and I'm keeping an eye on Jenson Button for Britain, because he's now moved up into 11th position as a result of the disappearance of Mika Häkkinen. Just 1 place off the top 10.
And he's lapping within 0.3 of a second of Ralf Schumacher, so pretty impressive start to Jenson Button's career here in Melbourne.
Now, last year, as I was saying, just 8 cars finished the race. Now, I said earlier on that they've designed entirely new cars. Formula One is always changing them. They've tested. They've tested in Barcelona, they've tested in Jerez. Williams went out to South Africa, where it rained most of the time. But you can test until you're blue in the face or red in the face in the case of Ferrari, and you don't get the same pressure that you get in a race. Maybe we've had that proof here today with the 2 McLarens going out, and the pressure now is on Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. There is Rubens Barrichello third behind him. The next car you see is Jarno Trulli, who is in a 4th position. Now, there is only 1.3 seconds between that Jordan of Frentzen coming through to complete the lap and his teammate Jarno Trulli in the 2nd Jordan, who is behind him in 4th position.
Ron Dennis said at a press conference this week that even if he didn't win the race, but having led by a lap or something, as they have done in the last couple of years here, he'd rather that than break down and not be well ahead. Well, he's got exactly that scenario. He didn't appear to have a pace advantage as they have in previous seasons, and I think Michael breaking his leg last year certainly helped them out in terms of making up for the lack of reliability they had. But I think they'll be concerned by, more so this season, by Ferrari's pace and their still apparent lack of reliability.
Yeah, there is no doubt about the fact that Ferrari is much closer to McLaren than it was last year. Last year, Häkkinen was 1.3 seconds faster than Schumacher on the starting grid. This year, it was only half a second, and that is confused a bit by the fact that Michael Schumacher had a very quick lap at the end of qualifying, which he wasn't able to complete, which would have possibly given him pole position. So I would say that it's even Steven between the McLaren and the Ferrari this year so far. And Ferrari, of course, is fabled for its reliability.
Well, this is a curious lap from Barrichello. We just happened to go on board with him. He's done 2 green sections on the computer, his fastest 2 sections of the race so far, after 22 laps completed on their 23rd, coming towards the end of it now, and has suddenly zoomed right up to the back of Frentzen. Probably he's been told to pick the pace up a little bit.
Yeah, let's look at the constructors. Ferrari is leading this race. Jordan are in a very strong position, with Frentzen in 2nd position and Trulli in 4th place. Ferrari, of course, we've got Barrichello in 3rd position. BAR are on on target for at least 1 point at the present moment, because Jacques Villeneuve is in 5th position, and he's more likely to finish the race this year than he did last year. By this time last year, he was out with a broken rear wing, which brought the safety car out. And he's got the Honda engine this year in the BAR, and it's been very, very reliable all through testing. BAR are looking good at the moment for their first point, and Sauber are on a single World Championship point if they finish this race, which has still got 36 laps to run, because Mika Salo, the Finn, who joined them from Ferrari as a result of Michael Schumacher coming back for that absolutely sensational drive at Malaysia last year. Mika Salo is in the Sauber team. Now 7th is Fisichella, 8th is Ralf Schumacher, 9th is Zonta, 10th is Alexander Wurz, 11th Jenson Button.
We're watching truly in 4th place there, but remember Salo could have and should have won. In Hockenheim last year, had to give the race up to teammate Eddie Irvine when he stood in for Michael Schumacher. And I have to say, Salo hasn't shown this kind or that kind of performance earlier on in his Grand Prix career. So Mika has clearly stepped up a gear somewhere.
22 started, 16 left, 6 retirements. Here they are in retirement order. Johnny Herbert out in the Jaguar. Eddie Irvine out in the Jaguar. De La Rosa out in the Arrows. David Coulthard out in the McLaren. Jos Verstappen out in the Arrows. Mika Häkkinen out in the McLaren. Both McLarens out of the Australian Grand Prix. Both Arrows out of the Australian Grand Prix. And both Jaguars. 3 very unhappy teams with a lot to do. And leading still Michael Schumacher. Well, is this going to be the brilliant double world champion Michael Schumacher from Germany's race? It's his 127th Grand Prix, of which he has won an incredible 35.
I can see a Prost in the pit lane, stationary in the pit lane, Murray out of the window, so I can't see which driver it is from here, but it looks like we may have yet another. Hearing on the radio, it's Heidfeld, so we've got yet another retirement from this motor race.
Yes, I was talking earlier on and I think got distracted. This is the first race of the year, and although testing is one thing, racing is another, particularly in this sort of heat. It's not nearly as hot as it was yesterday. The track temperature yesterday at one point nudged up to 50 degrees. It's 35 degrees now, but it's still mighty hot. And when David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen got out of their cars at the end of qualifying, they looked like a couple of boiled lobsters in silver suits. James Allen, news?
Yeah, Murray, I'm just trying to get a little bit closer to the bottom of what happened to the 2 McLarens. It appears that both cars went out with the same problem, and it appears it's engine-based. They both had misfires. Coulthard came in to try and fix some form of misfire. The little flash of flame you saw under the car and the flash of the fire extinguisher was because the bodywork was getting hot, but the basic problem was to do with a misfire. The mechanic was working on the same area of the car that they were going to have to work on Häkkinen's had he made it into the garages. So same failure, both cars engine related.
Thanks for that, James. Clearly a lot to do. And here is Schumacher coming up to Pedro Diniz, who is in 14th place. 15 cars left now. Nick Heidfeld out of his first Grand Prix for Prost, the Formula 3000 champion of last year. But I think he's, I've just had news that we think he's actually rejoined the race. Yes, he's out of the pits, I see on my screen in front of me. Nick Heidfeld has rejoined, so there are 16 runners still left. Michael Schumacher is leading Frentzen now. There is Frentzen by 20 seconds. There is Barrichello in 3rd position, and Trulli very much in touch in the 2nd yellow Jordan.
Yes, but we're seeing a performance similar to Michael Schumacher's, really, especially now the McLarens have disappeared off the scene, similar to last year in Malaysia, because he's been lapping a full 1.3 seconds faster than his pursuers. He's 20 seconds ahead of Frentzen. And Barrichello, I mean, Michael was quicker on that last lap, despite the traffic you saw him overtaking, and just setting a new fastest first sector of the race already as I'm speaking. And Michael just really in a league of his own at the moment.
Martin, your thoughts on the fact? No, not your thoughts on that, because with the news that on lap 26, it is still Schumacher, Frentzen, Barrichello, Trulli, Villeneuve and Salo in 6th position. We're going for a break. Lap 28 out of 56, which, unless I'm very much mistaken, is half distance for the Australian Grand Prix. Track temperature 34 degrees, it's going down, and Louise Goodman is with Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren.
Ron, I understand both cars have gone out of the race with an engine-related problem. What can you tell me about that?
Yes, that's quite correct. They suffered exactly the same failure, which was pneumatic failure in the valve gear, which is exactly the problem we had with two engines in qualifying yesterday, or practice in the morning. What's obviously frustrating is that, you know, we complete thousands of miles testing to avoid these sorts of problems at a Grand Prix, and probably some spec change has occurred between the last test and the preparation of these engines, which has caused these failures to occur. On the positive side, they're all exactly the same. It is a small failure, and as such it will be technically very difficult to resolve, but when you're dominating a race and already in a situation where you're conserving fuel and dropping the pace, it's very frustrating. I think it was a comfortable result, and makes it a little bit more difficult to accept.
Thanks for talking to us.
New fastest lap of the race from Michael Schumacher. Strangely, pole position was slightly slower this year, and that's unusual, but the race pace is faster. Michael's still pulling out over a second a lap on his pursuers, and he's lapping best part of 2.5 seconds a lap faster than, for example, the Williams, the Benetton, and the midfield group that are running from 5th through down to Jenson Button in 11th place. 2.5 seconds a lap faster. James is with Mika Hakkinen.
Mika, you were driving so well there. You must be incredibly disappointed.
Yes, extremely. I am very disappointed, but luckily we have still as much races to go like it was total last year, so I think I still have a pretty good chance to score some points this year.
Last year, Ron said he'd like to lead this race. That's more important, even if you're retired. Do you still feel that way? Do you feel you have the edge over Ferrari from what you've seen this afternoon?
I think we are very competitive at the moment, very strong, and I'm happy with the speed of the car. I'm not happy to finish in the Grand Prix, and like you probably heard me yesterday saying, you know, what is important here to come here and score some points. Top 6 for scoring points, I'm happy. that did not happen, so it doesn't feel very nice at the moment.
Thanks a lot, Mika.
Out of the race goes Jean Alesi, a very pragmatic Ron Dennis saying how it is, a very pragmatic Mika Häkkinen reflecting on the situation. And yes, I am very much mistaken. Twice 26 is not 58. We are not quite at the halfway point of the race. Well, we are now, actually, because we're on lap 29 out of 58. As you watch Michael Schumacher, he's lapping driver after driver. He's on his 30th lap. He's leading Heinz-Harald Frentzen by nearly 25 seconds. Frentzen has continued to have Barrichello glued to his gearbox, and Trulli is 5.5 seconds down the road in 4th place. Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is still in a comfortable 5th position, with Mika Salo pressing him pretty hard. 7th is Fisichella, 8th is Schumacher, 9th is Zonta, 10th is Wurz, 11th is Jenson Button, and the Ferrari mechanics are out, presumably to bring in Michael Schumacher, the race leader. I wouldn't think, Martin, that they're bringing Barrichello in and hoping there's going to be a change between him and Frentzen as a result of a quicker Ferrari pit stop.
Well, they may have left Michael slightly lighter at the beginning of the race to give him a chance to pass the McLarens and still stay on a one-stopper. Or they could be thinking of Schumacher coming in the pits now. They could have been thinking of trying to get Barrichello past Frentzen by stopping him very early. In fact, they might be better off stopping him very late. As James said at the beginning of the show, Jordan traditionally have a big fuel tank. James is down at the Ferrari pit. Michael, with the new speed limit here for this year, just 50 miles an hour. It seems an eternity, and of course, as the world champions, they're right at the far end of the pit lane.
80 kilometres an hour, it seems so slow in comparison with last year. Really is going to have a huge effect on the pit stops this year. A set of used tyres, scrub tyres we call them, going on. The teams have found that they go really, really well. 12.2 completely normal, one-stop fuel load, slightly slow, but hey, they don't need to rush these guys. Now, of course, Ross Brawn has got to think very hard about how he gets Rubens Barrichello in front of Frentzen, given that Frentzen is obviously going to run long on this first stint.
Well, Michael Schumacher is joined just in front of Jarno Trulli, which means to say that Frentzen leads. Barrichello is in 2nd place. Now, you saw the Ferrari mechanics frantically scrabbling about in the side pods of Schumacher's Ferrari. That is because the grass here at Melbourne has been cut. Some of it has not been collected, it has dried out, and you get an awful lot of grass in those side pods on the radiators. And the teams have fitted very, very tight mesh gauze strainers, and the grass piles up on that. They have to get it out, otherwise the engines are going to dramatically overheat.
Yes, and it's crucial for Schumacher to get out in front of Trulli, because even though he's got a heavier fuel load now, Trulli getting towards the end of his fuel, Michael tanked up, as we saw, on a 12.2 second stop. Roughly 12 litres per second goes in from the rig, and he now maintains track position whilst being in 3rd place. His pit stops out of the way, and that worked out just fine for him.
Well, now the interesting thing is how much longer is Heinz-Harald Frentzen going to stay out in the lead, with Rubens Barrichello pressing him very hard indeed. There is the Jordan crossing the line. Now let's see where the Ferrari is behind it. There is Rubens Barrichello, and you just saw the flash of Frentzen's wing, so it's a very close fight in the front for the lead. Now, if Frentzen can stay out quite a long time by having a heavier fuel load when this race started, he will mean to say that he'll have to take on less fuel when he stops, therefore take less time, and therefore be in a stronger position. But that again is speculation. Lap 32 out of 58, Frentzen leads. There's Barrichello behind him in 2nd place. Frentzen was in 2nd place last year. Barrichello drove an absolutely sensational race last year, because, as I said, after starting from the pit lane in the Stewart after that fire he'd had, he clawed his way up, and then he had a 10-second penalty because he passed Michael Schumacher on the line after the safety car went out, and Barrichello still finished in 5th position last year.
Mika Salo has pitted from 6th position. Presumably that was a regular pit stop, and that puts Button up in, Jenson Button up into 10th. Salo currently running 11th, but I think it was a scheduled stop.
Now, I thought I saw Trulli emerging. No, it was one of the Minardis. The liveries of the Jordans and the Minardis are very similar this year. It's a much brighter yellow, as you can see for yourself, for Jordan, partly to defer to Deutsche Post, which is one of their new sponsors, and a large amount of money is being put into the Jordan team. You'll see the trumpets on there they are on the airbox. New sponsors all round, because as I said earlier on, there's a lot of high-tech money going into the teams, not the least of which is coming into the Arrows team from Orange.
Yes, Rubens will be ruining that poor start, won't he, on the 33rd lap of the race. And, well, look how much it's cost him. He's still tucked up behind Frentzen, but I have to say, not exactly carrying him around every corner either. So Rubens appears to be pacing himself slow, but he needs to pick that pace up, because Michael in the sister car has been going significantly faster.
And as a result of the disappearance of Jean Alesi, Jenson Button in his first Grand Prix for BMW Williams is in 10th position. He is in the top 10. The Ferrari pit crew are getting ready again, and this time, of course, it will definitely be for Rubens Barrichello, as Heinz-Harald Frentzen is coming up to the traffic. Salo in front of him.
Yes, unless Frentzen, that's a Sauber, I think, in front, but unless Frentzen gets badly held up in the traffic, then, in fact, it's a Prost, then this is not going to work for Barrichello. Michael's gone out, and he's lapping some 2.5 seconds slower now with that extra fuel load. So clearly, pitting early is not going to help Barrichello at all. He just needs to hope that Frentzen gets caught up in some traffic, but so few cars on the road this afternoon, that's unlikely to happen.
So we're riding with Rubens Barrichello from 3rd position. He made a brave try to get past Heinz-Harald Frentzen as they were lapping Nick Heidfeld in the frost, but comes up into the pit lane. Up on the jacks goes the Ferrari. Off come the old tyres and wheels, on go the new ones. Out comes the fuel filler, 9 seconds. Rather a slow start.
Yes, a bit of a jerky getaway there for Rubens. He just seems so serene this weekend, almost too serene. He's been cruising around, happy to talk to anybody and driving really beautifully, but a bit tardy away there, and that certainly won't give him a chance to slingshot Frentzen, although I'm looking to see what kind of traffic Frentzen does have in his view.
So there is Rubens. You can tell the difference between the two Ferraris, incidentally, by the yellow flashes on the extremities of the front wing and on the roll bar over the airbox, and you certainly need them. He's coming up to Jenson Button now. This is going to be interesting to see how the young Englishman in his first Grand Prix in the BMW Williams, it's their first Grand Prix together, copes with new boy at Ferrari, Rubens Barrichello. And Barrichello is in his 113th Grand Prix, despite his comparatively tender age of 27.
I think when it all shakes out, Button is ahead of Barrichello this time with the pit stop. Remember, with that safety car earlier in the race, it reformed the pack. So it's not a traditional situation where they make a regular stop and come back out in a predictable position on the racetrack. So I think you'll find Barrichello shakes out actually behind Jenson at this point in the race.
Jenson is going jolly well, but the important thing for him in this race is not so much position, but above everything else, to get some race mileage in. He's had comparatively little testing in the Williams because they've had a lot of development problems with the engine in particular. They had rain in South Africa when they went out to Kyalami for a full week, and Jenson is definitely light on mileage. So the deeper into this race he can get, preferably to finish it, the better off he will be for the future events. And he's in 9th place now, as Martin has correctly pointed out. Rubens Barrichello, as a result of that pit stop, is in 10th position. So Button moved up a place, and Rubens Barrichello has dropped from 3rd to 10th.
Yes, that's cost Rubens badly. That poor getaway put him behind yet another another car. James, what can you tell us about Barrichello?
Well, Martin, you know, I'm just looking at this, and it's very strange because for one normal one-stop fuel load, you wouldn't get it away in 8 seconds, and that's really all that Rubens was stationary for. What I'm thinking has happened here, because we had the safety car 3 or 4 laps out there, they told Rubens to run the car really lean. He's stuck behind Frentzen. He doesn't seem to be able to get past him. He's been conserving fuel for the last 10 or 15 laps. So, of course, he comes in, they put in a very short fill, hoping to get him out early so he could put the hammer down, but, of course, he messed up the getaway. So it may well be, but, of course, it messes up his chances of getting ahead of Frentzen. Just a theory, but it might be the case.
Yeah, I guess you'd never choose a Ferrari as a getaway car, necessarily attracts too much attention, but all jokes aside, Barrichello there certainly cost himself dearly. And let's see what times Jensen's doing. Low, 1 minute 34s. Ralf Schumacher, 33.4. So he's still lapping, 36 laps into the race, within 6/10 of Ralf. So his fitness...
Oh, off goes the Jordan, and it's Jarno Trulli from 3rd position. Now Button is actually running 7th at the moment, or he was. Now he's in 6th position. Jensen Button is in a position at the moment, and it's a long way still to go, to score a World Championship point in his first race. Jarno Trulli blows it in his first race for Jordan, disconsolately walks away from the car out of the gravel track. Here it is.
I think it's going to be a mechanical failure, not a driving error though, Murray. Yeah, look, the engine's letting go and locking the rear wheels. You have to get the clutch buried very quickly, and then the hydraulic pressure fades away, and that's an oil fire at the back of the car there. As you know, it then quickly burns itself out, and in comes Frentzen for his stop. Frentzen from the lead of this Grand Prix. We're assuming now he was just 14 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and it's about a 28-second total cost to come in the pit lane. So Michael Schumacher will regain the lead. The big story is, where will Barrichello end up? Will he end up in front of or behind Frentzen? My guess is behind. Let's see what sort of job Jordan can do there. Look, they've got a refueling problem. Look, the refueler's not gone on yet. It's not even on at all, so this plays beautifully into Barrichello's hands, and they're still shaking their heads. They can't get the refueler started. It looks like it may be putting fuel in now. The car must be getting so hot sitting there. 23 seconds, so disastrous stop for the Jordan team.
Hear this, lap 37. Michael Schumacher leads. Jacques Villeneuve is in 2nd position. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is 3rd, and Jensen Button is in 4th position. Incredible! Rubens Barrichello is in 5th place. Frentzen, there he is, fighting hard to recover what was the lead, and is now very, very much down the field for him. This race is getting red hot. Race leader.
Well, we've seen the other Jordan go out with a smoky engine, and certainly sitting there for that amount of time for Frentzen will not have done his engine any favours whatsoever. I wouldn't want to put any money on who's going to be on the podium this afternoon, Murray. Still such a long way to go, and so many dramas.
Yeah, we've still got 22 laps to go, including the one that Michael Schumacher is concluding right now. Well, all you can say is, as I've said before, that Ferrari have up to now had reliability on their side. Michael Schumacher's now on his 38th lap, and it could be that Jacques Villeneuve is not only going to score his first points for BAR and BAR's first points after a terrible 1999, but he's going to be in... No, he's not, because Ralf Schumacher is now up into 2nd position as into the pits comes Villeneuve. There is the proof in front of you. And I saw one of the BMWs coming in. There is Jensen Button coming in for his race stop.
There's the first ever pit stop of his career. So his Grand Prix career, of course, but I think it's the first, probably the first racing pit stop of his in career, full stop. And a good one it was too for the Williams team on 11 seconds dead. Jensen over the white line now. He can press the button, get rid of the speed limiter, and accelerate towards the first corner.
New boots, take it easy, Jensen. Remember, the grip characteristics will be different in the car now from the older tyres that you just got rid of. But on lap 38, Michael Schumacher seems only to have to keep going to win the Australian Grand Prix for the first time. But I dare not make any prophecies. I hardly dare speculate because, as I said, BMW, who are entirely new to Grand Prix racing since they left it so long ago when Nelson Piquet won with a Brabham BMW Turbo the World Championship in when was it? 3. But they're looking mighty good at the present moment as Ralf Schumacher follows his teammate Jenson Button in for a pit stop. He follows in from second position. Now that means that Barrichello will definitely move up into second place in the Ferrari. And we better just let this round of pit stops develop and the race calm down a bit so that we can see exactly how everything has settled. Oh, there's a lot of problems. I was wondering if it was a heat problem. But it's not all that hot. 24 degrees air temperature. Ralf Schumacher, who finished third last year, going well, and we've got news from Louise Goodman.
Yeah, disastrous couple of laps for the Jordan team there. As you rightly surmised, Martin, that was an engine problem for Trulli. And then, of course, Frentzen, the refuelling problem, that was a stuck nozzle. That's obviously a serious blow to Hip's hopes of repeating last year's result, and when it was all going so well for the team. Bad news for Jordan.
Thank you, Louise. That 11-second stop for Jenson worked out just fine. It's actually put him ahead of Zonta and particularly Salo. Salo must have had some kind of drama. So Jenson in 7th place. Ralf Schumacher, we haven't really seen. He's got to complete his outlap yet. I suspect that's going to put him down around 5th place.
Well, things have got to settle down, but quickly, here are the first 6 on lap 39. Schumacher leading Barrichello now. Ferrari first and second. Ralf Schumacher's been into the pits. Frentzen third, Villeneuve fourth, Fisichella in 5th position, and Jenson Button is in 6th place. Time for a break. Lap 41, 17 to go. Michael Schumacher has slowed down a lot. There is Frentzen. We think he is coming in to retire from the race. He slowed down so much. He's got a gearbox problem. That has been the Achilles heel of the Jordan car, this year's car, in testing, and it looks as though it struck again, if an Achilles heel can strike. Michael Schumacher, then Ferrari leads. Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari, 11 seconds behind him and speeding up to close the gap. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is third. Villeneuve is fourth. Fisichella is fifth. And the second BMW Williams of Jenson Button is in the points in 6th place. Ricardo Zonta is in 7th place ahead of Mika Salo. Wurtz is 9th. Frentzen was 10th, but now Deniz will be. There are only 13 cars left with 17 laps to go out of the 22 who started. It is now a question of reliability.
Rubens Barrichello setting the fastest lap of the race on a 1:31.4, some 4 seconds faster than Michael Schumacher. Don't really understand why Michael's backing off quite so much. They do have a 40-second cushion back to the next runner, which is now Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. So I assume when Rubens gets up to the back of Michael, he won't be able to do anything about it. He'll have to follow him. But Michael's looking in his mirror there to see where he is. But why is he going quite so slowly?
Well, has he got a problem? You remember the last year when Irvine was number 2 in the Ferrari team, he was number 2. And if he was in front of Schumacher, he had to move over and let him through. Now, Rubens Barrichello has made great play out of the fact that he's not number 2, he's 1B. And he has not got to give way to Schumacher, but has Schumacher got to give way for him if Barrichello is in a faster car? I very much doubt it. Schumacher now on his 43rd lap, and Barrichello looks as though he's going to be making one of the quickest laps of the race. In fact, the gap is down to 4.8 seconds. If it continues at this rate, in about 3 or 4 laps' time, we're going to see the 2 Ferraris absolutely together, and that is going to raise a very, very interesting political situation.
Yes, Michael's pace is matching everybody else, plus a little bit on the racetrack, with the exception of Barrichello cruising up behind him in 2nd place. Jenson just 0.6 of a second behind Fisichella and lapping faster, so there'll be a squabble there for 5th place quite soon. Behind Jenson, Zonta and a recovering Salo we didn't see, but he must have had a very poor pit stop. Salo, who was running so well, lost out quite badly in the stops. That's a Minardi cruising in the background.
That's Mazzacane, the Argentine driver, in his first race. He's in 11th position. Incidentally, he's been a heck of a lot better than anybody expected him to be. No one had ever heard of him. He'd had a very undistinguished career up to Formula One, but he was really outstandingly good in the practicing and qualifying sessions, and looked worthy of a position in the Formula One team in a very much improved Minardi. Now here is Rubens Barrichello, who is lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Michael Schumacher, with the gap now 4.8 seconds. In 2 laps, he's going to be with the boss. Schumacher is 3rd, Ralf Schumacher. Villeneuve is 4th, and BAR are going to get their first points. Fisichella in the new Benetton, designed by Tim Demcham, a much simpler car than last year's, running well in 5th position. 2 BMW Williams in the top 6, because Jenson Button is still 6th. Now here are the retirements again. Both Jaguars, Herbert and Irvine, out. Both Arrows out, De La Rosa and Verstappen. Both McLarens out. Coulthard and Hakkinen. Lacey is out. Trulli is out. And, of course, Frentzen is out, so that's both Jordans.
I'll be amazed if anything other happens than Barrichello just cruises to not much closer than that.
Here they are.
And then just holds station. I don't believe Michael's got a problem particularly. They've got such a cushion, and this is a McLaren game really, pacing themselves at the front of a Grand Prix with an easy 1-2 apparently in their pocket. James, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Martin, still 15 laps to go in this race, of course, don't forget, so anything can happen in that situation. Down here in the Ferrari garage, they are absolutely calm, very sanguine. Michael, they say, has absolutely no problem at all. My gut feeling is I think Rubens is trying to do a bit of showboating. He wants to get as close as he can to Michael to show that, you know, he's on the pace, he's right there, he's with Michael Schumacher going into this championship, whereas perhaps Eddie Irvine in the past might have been 40 seconds back at the end of a race. Rubens is going to be right with him. Help with a safety car, of course, but nevertheless, it's it's Ferrari looking pretty comfortable at the front at the moment. But as I say, 15 laps to go yet.
Well, that 1:31.4 of Rubens certainly proved your point there, James. but I think Michael has got it pretty much under control in the front. Remember, this is a tough track on brakes, particularly. We've seen Frentzen was going to win this race in '97. Brakes exploded, so they've got no reason. I'm a bit surprised they let Rubens push quite so hard. They've got no reason, really, to go any faster than they are. And it does appear now that Barrichello has just positioned himself a reasonable distance behind Michael. The worst case scenario is Michael having a technical failure or a driving error and taking the pair of them out if they get too close.
And wouldn't they be popular with each other if that happened? Now let's ride with Barrichello and look at the master in the front, Michael Schumacher, at work for Ferrari, seemingly on his way to his 36th Grand Prix victory out of the 127 Grand Prix he will have driven in by the conclusion of this one. Now, Barrichello, new to Ferrari, if he finishes second to Michael Schumacher, he can be very proud of himself. As I said earlier on, I understand that there's been a sellout at Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. If Rubens Barrichello goes there, not only as Brazil's first Ferrari driver, but second in his first race only to Michael Schumacher, and he goes into the lead. That is, wow! I was going to say, I think they'll deify him. I think they certainly will now. Michael Schumacher must have a problem, because there was no hesitation then whatsoever.
No, hold on. He's got to stop again for gas. James was right.
Well
didn't put enough fuel in it. They've got to let Rubens get down the road. He's probably got a bit of a quick stop at the end, a quick flash of fuel, and that's the only reason I can put on it.
Well spotted, James. Thank you, Martin. But
we'll see if it's right yet.
That's certainly a dramatic development, whichever way you slice it. On lap 46 out of 58. Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, but not in the order we expected. Yeah, Ferrari, I've just heard, in fact I can see them out of the window, the massed cohorts of Ferrari, and it's Barrichello. I can see one of them carrying a board which has got Barrichello on it. So Rubino, as he is known not only in Brazil but everywhere else, and a very, very popular chap he is too, coming in for fuel. Now, Ralf Schumacher is 37 seconds behind him, so Barrichello will have plenty of time to take on a sort of splash and dash, come out into the track again in second position, and there he is coming into the pit lane. Are you there, James? No, he's not.
He's got a way to go yet. The white line going over now for the speed limiter, but yeah, well spotted there, James, on that short fill. They obviously changed strategy halfway through the race to try and leapfrog him over Frentzen. He had a bad pit stop, but Frentzen had an even worse one. James is there now.
Yeah, I spoke to Rubens yesterday. I said, I bet you're looking forward to benefiting from one of those Ross Brawn race strategies. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, you betcha. Very, very short fill. 7.9, completely normal. Everybody here is absolutely as calm as you like. It was exactly part of the strategy to get Barrichello past Frentzen, and marvellous.
Well, Michael Schumacher has been saying all along prior to this race, it is absolutely essential for us at Ferrari if we are to do well in the World Championship this year against a team as strong and as experienced and as successful as McLaren, with their driver partnership of Hakkinen and Coulthard, to get points early. We haven't done that in the past. We've suffered. We've caught McLaren in the latter parts of the season, but we need to be with them, if not ahead of them, at the beginning of the season. Well, at the present moment, on lap 47, with 11 to go, Ferrari are on a maximum 16 Constructors' Championship points. 10 for Schumacher, 6 for Barrichello, and of course, as out of the race goes Jenson Button. Well, that is but it looks to me as though it's not his fault. It's some sort of a problem. Look at the smoke from the back of the car, and he can say with enormous pride that he was in the points for a lot of the race. There it is. There's the confirmation. You see, there is Villeneuve going through, and Villeneuve behind him, Fisichella. That's how close it was, because there is Zonta going past Jenson Button as he parks the Williams, and the rear wheels lock up. So definitely not Jenson's problem. I think there's a little hard work probably to do in Munich, and unless in the very unlikely event of the gearbox locking up. Well done, Jenson Button.
Brilliant performance from Button, it has to be said. His pace was good, it didn't fade away as the race went on. He was mixing it with some more experienced drivers, and I have to say, a very, very impressive debut for Jenson Button.
Now that means that I mean, this is an embarrassment of riches for the BAR team. Not that I think they will be the least bit embarrassed by it after the appalling season they had last year. But both their drivers are now in the points, with Jacques Villeneuve in 4th position and Ricardo Zonta from Brazil in the second BAR in 6th position. And it means to say that there are only 10 cars left now with Button out of the running, and they are on lap 48. There is the leader, Michael Schumacher. He's 26 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello after Rubens' second stop. Ralf Schumacher is 9 seconds behind Barrichello and lapping faster, but I think not fast enough to catch him in the remaining distance. Jacques Villeneuve is in 4th place, 16 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher. Fisichella looks as though he's going to score 2 points for Benetton, and he might even score 3 because he's right behind Jacques Villeneuve's BAR, and Ricardo Zonta is 6th. So there is Ralf Schumacher. He turns in, we disappear, but we will be back. Eight to go, including the one they are on. Michael Schumacher, a commanding lead of just over 24 seconds from his teammate Rubens Barrichello. Sadly, Jenson Button out of the race, which looked like an engine problem when he was about to score a point in his first World Championship race. He can feel very, very proud of himself. BMW can feel very, very proud of themselves, because I don't think even in their wildest moments they would have expected to score points.
Did you catch a load of that, Murray? Schumacher well out of shape in the first corner. Unbelievable. He's just having fun, I think, but I bet he won't do that again next time around. Look, gets on the throttle and has to give it a full half a turn on the steering wheel, which is a lot in a Formula 1 car, to put it through. I think he's just bored, probably.
Well, I was saying that BMW can feel very proud of themselves to be in the points, and they are, because although Button is out, Schumacher, Ralf is very much in. Not only is he in, but he's lapping marginally faster than Rubens Barrichello in front of him. Although I'm pretty sure that's because Barrichello, knowing that there is a 9-second cushion between them, will not be pushing as hard as he could.
Here's that scrap, Murray, look. This is Villeneuve, Fisichella. Salo has now passed Zonta. Salo is up into 6th place. And this is the scrap. Villeneuve, Fisichella, Salo, Zonta and Wirtz. And they're covered by just 2 and a little bit seconds.
And Villeneuve there is 4th. There's Fisichella 5th. Salo 6th. Zonta is in 7th position and Wirtz behind him in 8th place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars as quickly as you can say. It's battling for 4th position. Wonderful scrap, and this is the 51st lap of a 58-lap race.
Yeah, I'd like to see a replay of how Salo made it past Zonta, actually. We haven't seen too much overtaking this afternoon. Be interesting to see where and how he was able to do it. Good performance from Salo today. As I said, I think he lost out in the pit stop somewhere, but he's getting it back up into the points. And at the moment, BAR look like they could be in for their first ever World Championship point. Here we go, look, we have got a replay. Salo taking a dive up, I think that's into turn 9. Good move there, made it stick, kept his line, and off he goes.
Yeah, pretty experienced chap now, of course, Mika Salo. This is his 77th Grand Prix. He's driven for Tyrrell, he's driven for Lotus, he's driven for Ferrari, he's driven for BAR, now he's with Sauber, and he's not only pushing past Zonta as he has done, but he's closing up on Fisichella, looking for 2 points and not just 1, because Salo now in the Sauber with a very strong Ferrari engine has undoubtedly got more power than Fisichella, and he's looking for that place. There he is, number 17. There's Zonta, there is Wirtz. So both the Benettons are there, and Wirtz is just 2 places off a point. There's 2 other runners left in this race. Marc Genet is in 9th place in the Minardi, and Nick Heidfeld is still running in the Prost in his first Grand Prix, 10th and last. So there have been 12 retirements. Lap 52.
Mika Salo getting a little bit ragged through 3, 4 and 5 there, but he's clearly the man on the move in that pack. He'd like to get up behind his great friend Jacques Villeneuve, who's currently running in 4th place. Sparkling performance here from Mika Salo. Look at the dust pouring off of his front brakes as he nails the middle pedal and tries to dump some speed, turns in nicely. That car's handling well.
Well, the thing that's interesting me is the situation that BMW have not got one of the very latest, very small, very light engines for their return to Formula 1, and Honda have, and Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is ahead of Villeneuve in 4th position. He's ahead of Zonta in 6th position. And it's not as though Jacques Villeneuve is a dusty driver. This is the world champion of 1997 that we're looking at leading this batch. There's Fisichella. Tim Gentian, who designed this car, can be very proud of himself.
Yes, and Villeneuve making a mistake there into turn 14 too. We saw him lock up a wheel, but still heading the pack up as they come over the line. There's 6/10 back to Fisichella, another half second back to Salo, Zonta, and then Wirtz. You can see in your picture now.
Now, this is why these Grand Prix drivers have to be so superlatively fit. This race has been running an hour and a half. The temperature is some 30 degrees. The cockpits are very hot indeed. They're wearing heavy, fireproof suits. They're cocooned in those cockpits. They've got an 800 horsepower, very, very, very hot engine behind them. And they've been working badly ever since the race began.
Yeah, first time we've seen Zonta looking like a Grand Prix driver, really. Had a poor year last year, didn't help by breaking his leg, of course, in Brazil. But he really looks, for the first time, even this weekend also, that he's actually with the car and not just one step behind it.
It was Ricardo Zonta went out of the Australian Grand Prix last year, as did his teammate Jacques Villeneuve, who broke a wing not so very far away from where he is at the moment. There it's the BAR of Villeneuve, the white car in 4th position. Then Fisichella's blue Benetton, Salo's dark blue Sauber Ferrari, a light blue Benetton of Wirtz, following the white car of Ricardo Zonta in 7th place. If Zonta could get past Salo, who's passed him, it would mean that both the BARs were in the points at the end of the race if they finish it.
Yes.
Michael Schumacher is on lap 54 out of 58, 23 seconds ahead of Barrichello, with Ralf Schumacher still 3rd.
I don't think that's going to happen because Salo's the one that just overtook Zonta, but Salo still very much on the move. There's a great helicam shot there as these guys move into the final stages of the Melbourne Grand Prix. And the gaps are still pretty consistent. Salo registered just 0.3 of a second behind Fisichella last time around.
Well, Jordan won't be ringing any joy bells, McLaren won't be ringing any joy bells, nor will Arrows. It's been a bad race for all those teams, an even worse one for Jaguar, but great things can have small beginnings, and I know that Jaguar and all the rest of them will be applying themselves in the next 2 weeks. There's only 2 weeks before Brazil. It was 5 weeks between Australia and Brazil last year. The pressure is on this season right from the beginning with 17 races, the extra one at Indianapolis in America.
All of these cars are on the lead lap. Of course, as I mentioned before, the safety car shuffled them back up around lap 15. But with Michael just cruising at the front, 2 McLarens out of the picture completely. Unusually, almost nobody's been lapped in this race, just Genet and Heidfeld, who've both had problems in 9th and 10th place, that have been lapped.
Well, this is great stuff, and interestingly, Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is by far the fastest man on the track at the moment. He's lapping a second faster than Schumacher, a second faster than Barrichello. He's closed the gap to Barrichello to 8 seconds, but there are not enough laps left for him to catch him, never mind get past him. Villeneuve continues to hold that 4th position. Fisichella, there he is behind him in 5th position. Salo trying to get past. Zonta trying to get to grips with the Sauber in front of him. And Alexander Wurz keeping a watching brief on all of them. These places could change in the twinkling of an eye. And there are 4 laps left, including the one they are on. I remind you that Michael Schumacher is still out there, still leading, looking good for 10 World Championship points. Rubens Barrichello looking good for 6 World Championship points in his first race for Ferrari. Ralf Schumacher, the first race for BMW Williams, looking good for 4 World Championship points and getting on the podium. That would be terrific. But this is terrific too.
Somebody running wide there and kicking up the dust, but no position change at the moment. This is where Salo is quick on the brakes. He's not close enough, but still filling the mirrors of Fisichella's Benetton. And I think Villeneuve and Fisichella will be very relieved to see the checkered flag at the end of this race. I suspect they're both just struggling a little bit.
Salo, Mika Salo, the Finn, the very, very cheerful Finn, is pushing mighty, mighty hard. He's certainly going to score a World Championship point in his first race for Sauber if he stays where he is in 6th position, but look how close it is, anything could happen. Now, Michael Schumacher out there in front for Ferrari. I said earlier on that he's had a great deal of bad luck, ill fortune in Australia. If he wins this one, it's not only going to be... Oh, and Zonta having a look. It's going to be Michael Schumacher's first race win in Australia if he wins. He's got 2 laps to go, each of 3.3 miles at the end of this one. He's on his 56th lap. But here, the attention, I mean, Genet is a lap down in the Minardi in 9th place. Heidfeld looks as though he's going to finish his first race for Prost in 10th position, 2 laps down.
Salo thinking, shall I risk a point? Shall I gamble 1 point if I get a sniff at the back of his gearbox? Shall I gamble 1 point for 2? And knowing Mickey will be saying, yeah, of course I will, I'll have a go. So I don't think Fisichella's at all safe, while Mika Salo appears to have the faster car.
Yeah, he's got that very powerful Ferrari engine from last year. Sauber have an arrangement with Ferrari that they will use last year's Ferrari Works engine, and we all know how good that was. Salo having a look. Wurz trying to get through, but Jacques Villeneuve is going to be a mighty difficult man to pass. He's got all the experience. Meantime, Michael Schumacher, and now the rest of them are on their 57th lap. That's the top 8 are on their 57th and the same lap. Marc Genet a lap down in 8th place. Nick Heidfeld 2 laps down in 10th position. But between the 1st and 8th places, there are just 58 seconds.
Interestingly, we're looking at a gaggle of cars there, as we switch to the Ferrari, that ran very early in the year 2000, Murray, and not surprising, there's a couple of each of them in that pack there. and two Ferraris running strongly at the front end that seem to have good reliability. So those teams that got their car out early are certainly getting some dividends today.
I was talking to Mike Gascoigne, the Jordan designer, just before this race began, and he said to me, Michael Schumacher will win this race, and I think Ferrari will win the Constructors' Championship, and Schumacher will win the Drivers' Championship. Well, we'll see, but it's a wonderful start.
But I liked Mika Häkkinen's positive mental attitude. He said, hey, listen, there's 16 races left yet, and that's what we normally have in a season before we start, and I think that's a very good approach to have.
Here. We, you know, one race, one swallow does not make a summer. One race does not make a world championship. All that Ferrari can say is they've started extremely well. All that McLaren, Jaguar, Arrows and Jordan can say is they have started extremely badly. But there's still 16 races to make up the gap or to lose to your rivals. But Michael Schumacher will be very, very happy with this. He's been enormously confident all the way up to the start of this race, all through testing and all through qualifying, even though he started third behind the two McLarens. He said, I'm not the least bit bothered. This is a long race. Third is a good place to start. And it looks as though, as is usually the case when Michael says something, he was absolutely right. The flags are flying, and Michael Schumacher is coming through to win for the first time the Australian Grand Prix in wonderful style. A great sight. Schumacher wins. Fist out. Victory salute. And a euphoric Ferrari team greet him home and look down to see Rubens Barrichello. There he is, finishing in second place in his first race for Ferrari. Now, only 7 seconds further back, it should be Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams, and it is. Ralf Schumacher finishes third. A great, great finish for him and for the Williams team.
That chasing pack is some 27 seconds behind, but at the moment Villeneuve is heading it from Fisichella still. There he is now, coming through 14 into 15. No position change, it appears, in there. So BAR are going to take their first World Championship points, providing there's no scrutineering hiccups after the race. And over the line they go. Fisichella 2 points, Salo the extra point. We've got two Schumachers on the podium, Murray. Ferrari winning this race for the second consecutive year.
Yeah, I don't think they will be any happier than the BAR team, who've not only got both their cars home in the top 7, but one of them scoring points, and it's right that it should be Jacques Villeneuve, and the other nearly doing so in 7th position, Riccardo Zonta. But now the two Ferrari drivers go round in formation, saluting each other. But the man of the day, as we have seen so very often in the past, is the great double world champion, Michael Schumacher, making a wonderful start for his attempt at a third world championship in the year 2000 to achieve the goal that he has been fighting for ever since he left Benetton in 1958, to bring Ferrari back to the front, not just in the Constructors' Championship, which in a way was a consolation prize for them last year, but the vital Drivers' Championship, which was last won for them by Jody Scheckter as long ago as 1979. And the BMW sandwich, the BMW Williams sandwiched between the two Ferraris. Ralf Schumacher has driven as meritorious a race, in my opinion, as his brother.
I think it was a solid drive from Ralf, actually, in the middle of the pack there. The pit stops worked out well for him, the reliability stakes worked out well for him, but a good, solid drive, as we saw so many times last year. Michael's going to be very, very happy, isn't he? He's got his teammate beside him, his kid brother behind him. He leads the World Championship. He's got a good car underneath him with a lot of reliability. He's, well, what else could he ask for?
Well, the Drivers' Championship, of course, is as the finish in the race. Michael Schumacher leads with 10 points, Barrichello second on 6, Ralf Schumacher third on 4, Villeneuve fourth on 3, Fisichella fifth on 2, Mika Salo a fine 6th with 1 point. Ferrari lead the Constructors' Championship with a total of 16 points, the maximum they can score from first and second. 12 points ahead of Williams, and who would have forecast that 2 hours ago? And James Allen is with Ferrari designer Rolf Braun.
Ross, a terrific win for Ferrari today, a 1-2. How do you stand, though, relative to McLaren, do you think, with the car? You think you're on a level?
It looks to me, performance-wise, we're pretty comparable. I mean, obviously Rubens got stuck, but Michael could respond when Hakkinen responded, but it's going to be very tough. I mean, it looks to me as though they're very, very similar. And it's got the makings of a great year. But at least we're starting here competitive. Last year we were a bit desperate. So I'm really, really happy with today.
I spoke to Rubens yesterday. I said, are you looking forward to benefiting from one of those famous Ross Braun strategies? And he said to me, you betcha. And you switched it for him today, didn't you?
Yeah, it was again a no-loss strategy, really, because when it became clear Frentzen was going to go longer, we took a chance and it worked out. Heinz Harrell had a problem, so I'm not sure what would have come from that, but no, we were pleased with that.
Well done, Ross.
Thanks.
Pleased? I should think he's pleased. He goes back to Maranello, a top man, and I haven't mentioned, I see he was the Ferrari designer. Ross Braun, of course, is the Ferrari technical director. Let's give the credit where it's due for the design of that car to South African Rory Byrne. Well done, Rory, you are a star. And so is Michael Schumacher, and so is Rubens Barrichello, as Ralf Schumacher looking cool, calm and collected as ever. Embraces his brother. Oh, there's never been two brothers like this in Formula One. We've had them in the past, of course, the Rodriguez brothers and various others, not all that many of them, but this is the most successful brother partnership of all time in Formula One. Ralph on the right, Michael on the right, on the left, showing again that when he's happy, he is very, very happy.
A walk in Albert Park for Michael Schumacher this afternoon, and Jean Todt, the sporting director of Ferrari, pretty pleased with himself and the entire team. It was faultless, really, wasn't it? Of McLaren getting away at the start of the race and with a leading with a 1-2 there, but Ferrari coming through at the end, and it was just so easy for Michael.
I've never made any secret of my admiration for Michael Schumacher, and one of the many things I like about him is his uninhibited joy when he does well. I mean, he's not a grey man who doesn't show any emotions at all. If he wins, he's happy, and he shows it. And I bet you, when he gets on that podium, he's going to do the famous Michael Schumacher leap high up in the air to say, I am there, I am number one, I am a very happy man. And Melbourne, as ever, has seen a superb race. The Australians are a wonderfully enthusiastic lot.
The first thing they have to do is go and be weighed. They stand on some scales holding their crash helmet to make sure that they match the weight that has been allocated to them pre the race, and there's no shenanigans going on there. There's Michael when he got out of shape towards the end of the race while he was just playing around, but as soon as they get off that off the scales, they zoom up a tunnel, a passageway behind and up onto the podium, and when they look out, Michael's going to, you can see the crowd that Michael's going to look out onto, and they've got lots of red hats and red t-shirts and Ferrari flags to wave at him.
And they're a lovely crowd. They won't come over the barriers and attempt to spoil things. They're just here to show their enthusiasm. Incidentally, the new Premier of Victoria, the state of Victoria, in which we are situated here at Melbourne, the Honourable Steve Bracks, will be presenting the trophy to Michael Schumacher as a winner, and then James Strong, who's the chief executive of Qantas, who've done so much for this race, is going to be giving the Constructors' Championship trophy to, I expect, Jean Todt. It's normally him, or he might ask Ross Braun to go up. Ron Walker, who's chairman of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, and probably more than anyone else is responsible for the success of this race here at Melbourne, will be giving the second prize to Rubens Barrichello. And then John Osborne of CAMS, which is the governing body of motorsport in Australia, is going to give Ralf Schumacher his trophy. Enormously happy Ferrari team, of course. They all work hard. Arrows work hard, Jordan work hard, Minardi work hard, Williams work hard. Some get the success and the rewards, some don't. And they certainly going to Ferrari, and just listen to the crowd. And there's Michael. Is he happy? Yes, of course he is. So is Ralph on the right. Rubens Barrichello on the podium in the scarlet Ferrari overalls for the first time, and it won't be the last. And there is Steve Brax on the left, the Honourable Steve Brax, the Premier of Victoria, in the dark suit, and he'll be making a mighty fast getaway when those champagne bottles spray and the German national anthem sounds out for Michael Schumacher. With the two Schumachers of BMW, but for Ferrari, the constructors, the Italian national anthem. Well, as ever, Australia and Melbourne have done Formula One proud. A wonderful way to start the new season.
Yeah, it's been a spectacular weekend. A few of the top drivers have been in the wall, damaged their cars, but at the end of the day, Michael Schumacher is the man holding the silverware with such an advantage going into Brazil. No points for Jordan, no points for McLaren.
No points for Arrows either, but a wonderful trophy, incidentally. That is undoubtedly the nicest trophy of the year. Australians, there's Ron Walker, Big Ron, who's the top man here in Melbourne. Look at that trophy, Australian diamonds and gold, and the Qantas leaping kangaroo in the centre. And Ralf Schumacher gets to take one home for the second year in succession for third place. Well, this is going to be a Grand Prix that Michael Schumacher will remember for a long time, with every good reason, as he gives Rubens Barrichello and the Premier of Victoria a dousing in champagne. Ron Walker just avoids it.
I don't think that they were designed for that purpose, those trophies, but Rubens used it to very good, somebody used it to very good effect there.
Well, well done, Michael, well done, Ferrari. Well done, Ralf Schumacher and BMW Williams, and let us remember too, well done, Jenson Button.
Absolutely right, Murray. Thank you very much indeed. 1-2 for Ferrari in Australia. Schumacher's first win here at the 10th time of asking. Brilliant drive for Rubens Barrichello on his Ferrari debut. There's a big Italian quarter in Melbourne, and they will be raising their glasses tonight around that Lygon Street area here in Melbourne, celebrating a brilliant Ferrari 1-2. But what a drive from Jenson Button, and we hope to hear from him when you rejoin us.
championship with, and obviously there was a little bit of disappointment yesterday because we didn't get the full potential out, and myself, I wasn't too worried, and I believe I proved this today that I was right. And thanks really to the guys. They have done a fantastic job. I mean, not just the car is reliable, but it's so bloody fast, this car. I'm really, really delighted to drive this car.
Now, even at the start, when you were in third place behind the two McLarens, you just seemed totally in control. Was that the case?
Yeah, I was already from the beginning basically driving pretty easy, saving my tyres, saving my fuel, just for the final moment when pit stops would have come to attack. That was my strategy, and it worked fine. Unfortunately, the two guys in front of me broke down. I would have wished to have a race until the end to prove really how good we are. But I think we will have plenty of opportunities to do this year.
Now, talking about that, when you saw David retire, did you then consciously pick up the pace to perhaps force Mika into also having a similar problem?
I mean, I saw David slowing down, and I was wondering what's going on, whether he had a problem or whether his team told him to do certain things. I wasn't sure. So I was worried for a moment what is really going on. Luckily, I saw him going into the pits and I knew what is going on. So it was just a matter of being calm, cool, putting pressure on Mika, that we wait till the pit stop and see what happens. That was my strategy. I wasn't thinking he would break down as well.
Thank you, Michael. Rubens, your first race with Ferrari, you equalled your best ever finish. But at the start, when you were behind Heinz Harald and the others were getting away, what were your thoughts at that moment?
It was really hard because, like Michael said, this car is unbelievable. This car is really, really good. So, unfortunately, in Melbourne, there's not a lot of places to overtake unless the car in front is really slow. Heinz Harald was trying to keep his pace, and at a certain point, he was going really fast, but that took a long time. So the guys in front were going away. So, you know, I was trying to work the tactics with Ross, and everybody says he's the maestro, and he really is. I mean, he changed my strategy. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to Frentzen, but I think we would have done him anyway. But he did a fantastic job, and the whole team did.
How close to that first stop did you actually make the decision that you were going to go for a second one?
He was on that lap, I would say. He was pretty much on that lap when we saw that Heinz Harald was going for a long first stint. We chose to go for two, so it was on that lap.
Thanks, Rubens. Ralph, the day didn't start very well when you had to take the spare car. I mean, how surprised you to finish, let alone finish on the podium?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, we came here again like last year with having had no race distances in a test, but the team did a fantastic job. The car was really great to drive. It was the best car I've ever had. And, you know, speaking about the engine, BMW did a great job. I mean, it did its job as drivable as an ICE engine, and it was reliable, you know, and we finished third. I mean, I thought that if we finished, that we finish in the points, but I never thought about finishing third. It was a great day for us.
Now, in the race, you were battling quite closely with a number of other drivers. Did you have a good, fair fight?
Well, it's actually a little bit boring here because the only thing you can do is following cars and wait till they pit and then be quicker, and that's what we did. We went into the pits very late, I think nearly the latest, and that made us overtaking the other cars.
Thanks, Ralph. Michael, we go on now to Brazil, where I think it's fair to say the last few years Ferrari have struggled in the anti-clockwise and over the bumps. Do you feel you can carry on this good form with this new car?
Certainly, yes. I mean, this car is a faster car than it has ever been. It has been competitive. It is reliable, as we have seen. So I'm really looking forward now for all the season. I believe we will be able to be competitive everywhere. Not only the car is fast, we have already very good ideas how to develop it. And so everything looks to be a very good year for Ferrari.
Thank you. Now a word from all three of you in your own language, starting with Michael, please.
Ja, ich glaube, der Tag hätte nicht schöner enden können. Es hat lange gedauert, bis wir unser Ziel erfüllen konnten. 5 Jahre, um genau zu sein. Und von daher bin ich natürlich überglücklich, nicht nur, dass wir unser Ziel erfüllt haben, sondern wie wir es erfüllt haben. Wir haben ein super Auto, es ist zuverlässig, es ist schnell und es macht wahnsinnig viel Spaß, damit zu fahren. Und von daher kann man natürlich nichts Besseres erwarten, um motiviert zu sein, um wirklich mit besten Aussichten vorauszuschauen. Ich möchte mich beim Team bedanken, die eben diesen extremen Job gemacht haben, die den Winter über hart gearbeitet haben, dass wir so ein Auto bekommen haben. Danke euch.
Thank you, Michael. And Rubens.
Bom, eu estou super feliz. Minha primeira corrida para a Ferrari, na segunda posição. Eu acho que eu tive muito problema na largada em seguir o Frentzen, mas eu acho que felizmente a gente conseguiu ultrapassar mesmo sabendo que ele estava fora da prova. Então foi uma corrida que não foi tão rápida, foi uma corrida que nós tivemos muito cuidado com a durabilidade do carro, mas enfim, eu estou contente, acho que eu vou ter um grande ano e vou poder lutar muito por vitórias esse ano.
Thank you, Rubens. And now Ralph.
Ich glaube, es hätte wirklich nicht besser beginnen können, auch für uns. Wir hätten gar nicht damit gerechnet, dass wir dieses Rennen zu Ende fahren können. Und dann auch noch gleich Dritter zu werden, ist ein hervorragender Start. Das Team hat einen hervorragenden Job geleistet, das Auto ist perfekt.
Wie sind mit Emotionen, Junge?
Ja, der Motor hat gehalten und ich glaube, wir sind recht glücklich. Und heute Abend habe ich mich dann entschieden, hier zu bleiben und jetzt werden wir erstmal feiern.
Thanks, gentlemen. Many congratulations. Thanks.
würde ich sehr gerne, aber ich denke schon am Samstag. Eigentlich
Jacques Villeneuve, the nightmare. Oh, hang on. Jacques Villeneuve, the nightmare is over at last. Your first points for BAR.
Well, that feels great after the hard work of last year. To finally bring the car home with points is fantastic for everybody, for the whole team. Everybody that worked hard at the shop. You know, it finally pays, and it's the first race for Honda, so it's also very good.
Now, you've worried about the car's speed, but the reliability is there. How quick do you think it is in race conditions?
My car wasn't very quick today. Our setup, we had a pretty light rear setup, which was very good for qualifying, but a little bit average for the race.
Now coming to you, Craig, again, it must be a fantastic feeling to have finally got those first points on the ground.
Well, it's very necessary. The team's worked extremely hard over the winter, and it's a consecration of all that hard work that's been put together. It's given the points. I mean, it's not just a driver and a car, it's everybody behind there at the factory. So very, very happy, and it's one monkey off our back.
Are you elated or relieved?
I'd say more relieved than elated. I don't think there's any big reason to be elated. I think Jacques would say the same thing. What we have to do now is work even harder to make sure that we can climb a little bit higher.
Guys, thank you very much and many congratulations. Well done.
Ich habe mir gedacht, komm, lass dir Zeit, ich wusste ganz genau, wir sind die Letzten, da kam ich vorbei, es war so schon überall. Und dann bin ich ruhig vorbei, aber ich bin auf wenn einer gesagt hätte, dass der Barrikade so langsam ist, hat keiner gesagt. Und ich habe gefragt, ich habe nicht verstanden. Hat keiner verstanden. Und dann habe ich gedacht, ja, nee, ich habe dann auch wieder.
It's amazing. 2-3 degrees on a certain electronic item.
And there waiting for us is Jensen Button. Jensen, from us all, many congratulations, but how disappointed are you not to finish?
I'm not really disappointed. It's my first race in Formula One, and starting from 21st isn't the way that I wanted to start, but there you go. But during the race, I had a couple of good races with Alex Wirtz and also with Fisichella, so it's been a good race for me, and to come from 21st up to 6th position, I'm very happy with.
We saw you very calm indeed when you spoke to Martin Brundle before the race, but surely beating away, that old heart must have been thumping.
I was actually surprised, because normally I am very nervous before a race, about the first 30 minutes before a race, but I was fine. I was very surprised. When the lights disappeared, when the red lights disappeared, I was a bit nervous and a bit anxious to get going, but no, I'm very happy of the result today.
Were there any memorable incidents that you will take from this race, and you'll look back when you're bouncing your grandchildren on your knee and say, yeah, I remember my first race in Australia?
It'd have to be the first 3 or 4 laps. It's never having experienced it before. It was amazing feeling being up there with all the top drivers in Formula One. But no, it's got to be the first 3 laps.
How different was the whole experience of a Formula One race for you, Jensen?
It's obviously very different. Long races to start with. A 58-lap race is very long compared to what I'm used to. It's about 20 laps in Formula 3, so it's quite a big difference. Also the competition. This is the best drivers in the world I'm racing against now, and it's great to be here.
Physically, did you feel it in the later stages? Very, very hot out there, very demanding?
Yeah, just after the just before the pit stop, so I started getting a bit tired, but after the pit stop I was raring to go again. I don't know what, maybe I had an extra booster or something, but coming out the pits and being in 6th definitely helps.
Now, we had your dad John up here before the start of the race. I mean, just looking at you and chatting to you here, I tell you what, he was more wound up than you were throughout the whole day, I think.
No, it's been a pretty good day. I've been chilled, pretty relaxed, but I think that's part of the team's way of working. They've not put any pressure on me today. Obviously, starting 21st, you can't really have much pressure. But no, they've been great, especially Frank, Gerhardt,
and lots of parties with your mates going on back home around that Somerset area. I think your dad, who's just joined us, was telling us. You might just like to say something to your pals back home, Jensen, but before we call in John.
Hi there.
Yeah, no, I'd like to say thank you to all my friends. I know that a lot of them were up watching the race, and to my girlfriend and the rest of the family. It's great to have the support. Thank you.
Well done, Jensen. John, the kid did good, didn't he?
Yep, I done good.
We had Murray. Murray went in sort of town crier mode at one stage when he gave it the hear this,
Oh,
Jensen
no.
Button is fourth.
Yeah, I can imagine Murray. He didn't fall off his stool, did he?
But how bad was it for you sort of watching it, or can you honestly sit back and say you enjoyed the whole experience today, John?
No, I did enjoy the experience. I found a quiet place in one of the grandstands and away from everyone, and really soaked up the whole race. It was brilliant.
At the end of it, I guess there'd be a slight sense of disappointment that Jensen, he was in the points, and the engine let him down at the end. He didn't manage to finish.
Yeah, I think a slight disappointment is the right words. Just he handled himself so well in the race, and what I saw, he didn't put a foot wrong, and all the doubters now can be put to rest, I feel.
I was going to say, you'd have seen the headlines over here. Was it boy wonder or boy blunder, one of them said. I mean, I think he's proved a point today.
Yeah, excellent, but drove very maturely, and no, excellent. All over the moon.
And now, Jensen, going back to you now for Brazil, eh?
Yeah, I've got 2 days testing at Silverstone next week, which I'm looking forward to. Don't know how I'm going to feel after a 24-hour flight back from here, but I'll try my best, and then we go out to Brazil. I think it's on Monday, so looking forward to it. I heard it's a very, very demanding circuit, so I'll be in the gym training.
Okay, just finally, Jensen, just sum up the whole thing for us. Just put it succinctly, your feelings about what's happened to you here in Australia this weekend.
My first experience of Formula One is what I expected it to be. It's actually better than I expected it to be, and it's good to be here with all the best drivers and all the best teams in the world. It's what I've dreamt about, obviously, for many years, and now it's reality.
I tell you, it's really good to have you with us. It's really good to have you throughout the season. Thanks for joining us now. And thank you too, John. Many congratulations to you both. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what is he, 20 years of age? I mean, handles it all without a flicker, doesn't he?
Do you know what? He was online there to finish with 1 World Championship point, which would have equalled the great Alain Prost. I mean, I was assistant team manager at McLaren when Prost did that for us at the first race, in not a very competitive car. And to be fair, you know, the BMW Williams isn't the best out there yet. It may be. He was on course to do that, but as his father said, he's proved all the doubters wrong. You know, he had problems in the gym, he pulled a muscle in his back, he's accelerated his training program. He has quite a frail body, because the body has to get used to a Grand Prix properly. Their neck eventually comes out to here, like Nigel Mansell's used to be. Their pecs and all the things they need to drive one of these big 800 bhp beasties.
But he was saying there, Tony, no problems physically, really. Took it all in his stride. And as he said, I mean, starting from the back row, working himself up to a finish and a possible points finish as well. It was just a terrific achievement.
Well, you've met him. When you come across somebody who is a real star, someone like Schumacher, you don't see a bead of sweat. I didn't see him looking flustered at all there. He didn't look as if he'd been put through the mangle machine, but he has. You know, he will have lost about 2 kilos in weight. He will have perspired. He looks in very, very good shape, and he's still got that twinkle. I think the boy has got it, and that's what Gerhard Berger said to Sir Frank Williams. He's got it. You better hire him.
I think he's proved it here, and although of course he's not the finished article, he has proved very definitely, Jensen Button, that he can hack it in the world of F1.
Yeah, he can, absolutely, no question at all. He's done a very, very good job, and you know, he really had to have everything together, and no matter what he says, coming into that
that's his first pit stop
there, it was something that they rehearsed and rehearsed at the shakedown test, the British Grand Prix, yet the guy was still the fastest of all the cars out there, and every 3 or 4 laps they brought him in to have another pit stop. This is the agony for him. He must have just felt that engine let go as he's coming up towards turn 3 there, and just guiding it gently towards the shale and out of harm's way when it feels let's go. And although he'd be disappointed, he will have felt, look, I've shown everybody what I can do. Was he dangerous out there? No, I thought his track craft was brilliant, you know, and no one's had any complaints. That's not to say he has to prepare for that in the future. There's bound to be some altercations in the topsy-turvy Formula One world.
Good. Tony, thank you very much indeed. We're going to leave you for a couple of minutes. There's a lot more for us to discuss about the Australian Grand Prix. We will be right back. You're back with us in Melbourne. Let's go straight to the press conference and hear from the top three. Ralf Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher.
Michael, this must be the perfect start to the season for you. 1-2 for Ferrari, first for you. Your first win in 10 attempts here in Australia. No points in McLaren. You must be delighted.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, delighted is probably the wrong word. I mean, imagine how long I'm in Ferrari. It's the fifth times we try to win this Australian Grand Prix and be competitive from the beginning of the season. But somehow when I went into my new car, I immediately felt this is the car I'm going to doing with and I'm going to fight really from the beginning of the championship with. And obviously there was a little bit of disappointment yesterday because we didn't get the full potential out. And myself, I wasn't too worried. And I believe I proved this today, that I was right. And thanks really to the guys. They have done a fantastic job. I mean, not just the car is reliable, but it's so bloody fast, this car. I'm really, really delighted to drive this car.
He was expecting opposition from the McLarens, Tony. It never materialised.
No, it didn't, and that is an amazing thing, because while Ferrari spent so long in the wind tunnel trying to land with the wheels turning, as you said, the miles that these guys put on, you know, Coulthard in particular, did all the work during the winter, trained like crazy. They even grafted on the 2000 rear end with the 2000 engine onto a 99 chassis, run around with that, tested all the components, and here we are, early in the Grand Prix, coming in with this problem. The same problem as Ron Dennis said that they identified yesterday with the valve gear, the pneumatics relating to the valve gear. We saw them playing around with the pipes. And there's Coulthard. He went back out and he had to return. The same thing affected Mika Häkkinen. This is exactly what Häkkinen wanted to avoid. He said, please, 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 we want to be there from the first race. I don't want to have to go through the agony that we went through last year. That's what he must have been thinking as he retired from this first race. Okay, there's 17 this year instead of 16. But one thing Ron said there, he said, we were conserving fuel well. This new Mercedes engine, when it's on stream, better watch out because it's very fuel efficient and fast.
Thanks, Tony. Well, agony then for McLaren, not so for Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve, the former world champion, scoring the first points for British-American racing.
Jacques, what a brilliant way to start the season.
Oh, it feels great. Mostly after all the hard work of last year, and finally get a result is a good thing.
What difference is it going to make to the team?
Well, it's good. It brings a lot of good energy to the team. The team has worked very hard, and finally we got a result, so now we can push forward.
What area is it that you've been working on over the winter that's made this difference?
Reliability, that's the main issue.
Reliability, as always, the key here in Australia and indeed everywhere else. Just confirmation then of the results and indeed the points. Michael Schumacher 10, Rubens Barrichello 6 for Ferrari, Ralphie Schumacher 4 for Williams, Jacques we just seen a precious 3 points of BAR, Fisichella with a couple for Benetton, and Mika Salo. What an excellent drive from Mika Salo, an excellent first drive and making his point for the Sauber team. Okay, plenty of football coming up your way here on ITV this week, the Champions League. And this is what is coming up for you, a rerun this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Highlights just before midnight tonight. And by the way, on ITV2, a repeat of the highlights 8 o'clock on Monday evening.
No, nothing.
And next we go to...
I hope not. I think it's the worst 3 days I've ever had in my entire career. It's, you know, it's just been a complete nightmare. We had the engine issues, problems. We thought we'd fix them. Obviously, we haven't. We're going to have to get everybody's together to fix it now. And today was, you know, I just thought the engine felt good, actually. We changed engines from this morning. Felt good. Car felt actually quite good. But obviously the start, it was a good start, actually. I got a nice start. And then basically, actually where I stopped in qualifying on both times, that's where it started to have the problem. The clutch started to slip. And then it just basically got worse. I tried to cool it down. Sometimes if you don't slip it, it cools down, it comes back. But obviously it was just a bit too far gone.
Someone hit you as well?
I think that was Pedro, but that was roughly when it started to have its problem anyway. So Yeah, but it was about the same place. I
Well,
accelerated away.
Alphonse, see you later. It's an engineer. You know, well, if we're in the top 10, it's a bonus. Now, what's third place then?
Well, it seems like it's a bonus, yeah. But I have to say honest, we worked very hard, and I have to say our technician did a great job the last few months. They're pushing really day and night. And we know that we moved forward. We didn't want to show too much because time to show is on the race. And it worked out well.
There's two little things. One, Jensen Button didn't make a mistake today.
He did a great job, very good. I don't know what's happened, we have to analyze.
Yes, and the other thing, where do we go from here?
Well, now it's very important to stabilize the situation. You know, we cannot start to get to the moon. We have to stabilize the situation. We have still a lot of things in front of us, but we're gonna come.
Thank you very much. Congratulations again. Hij zegt, ja, er zijn een heleboel dingen die nog moeten.
I think there was some problem with my car because someone touched me in the start. I am quite pleased.
Thank you very much. Hij zegt, iemand heeft me geraakt. I think on a fairly successful race after a disastrous qualifying.
Well, I think qualifying was not too bad with 15s because in all the 3 practice I've been even more behind, and to be honest, I'm not so happy with the race. Obviously, it's very, very nice that we finished the race, which is the most important thing in the beginning, but we need to find a lot more speed for sure.
Yeah, can I congratulate you on something else? You're looking very fit. You're much fitter than all the other drivers I've seen so far.
Yeah, thank you. For me, it has not been a big problem. I think it has not been as hot as we've expected.
Thank you very much. Very good. Must be basically a dream start. You first, your teammate second, and your brother third.
Yeah, no, it's a family atmosphere and situation up there.
What did you say to Ralph when you got on the podium? Because you were having a little chat.
I said loads of things, honestly, but I knew to some degree that they weren't really confident to may finish the race because they didn't have the longest preparation time available, and they finished the race and being even third, which is a fantastic situation for them.
With Rubens, you and him together, it seems like a very good team working very good already.
Yeah, no, but don't believe we are gay. Yeah? I mean,
no. Rubens, you want to change the situation for Brazil, I suppose.
Well, listen, I mean, in front of Michael is a fantastic driver. We know that. I'm not because I'm in front of him again. No, it's okay. Later on. I'm honored to be driving alongside him. I think he has the pace that Ayrton had. So anything I can do against, but I say together with him, I'm very well compared. So I'm gonna be fighting. I think I have the toughest teammate that I ever had. I hope he has the toughest teammate too.
Yeah. There's one thing. I think you can learn some fitness lessons from him. You're sweating, he's not.
He doesn't sweat. That doesn't mean I'm not fit, so it's okay.
Actually, he's quite fit. It's true.
See you all in Brazil. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
And welcome back to Albert Park, Melbourne. We've seen a great 1-2 for Ferrari. Michael Schumacher followed by Rubens Barrichello. Let's have a word with some of the drivers now. Starting with Michael Schumacher, his first win in Australia, and he's tried 10 times.
I was able to go very fast during the race. I was, I'd say, pushing onto the McLarens. They had a better start, as usual. That's something we need to work on. But I'm very optimistic. We are there, and we need another little steps, and then we will look a little bit more comfortable.
We had a great start of the season. 1-2 is not bad. We have a great car, and for sure we're going to have the chance to win every championship this year.
Ralph, third place today. Slightly more than you expected from this weekend?
Well, slightly more was slightly underestimated, to be honest. I expected a lot less than that. I thought, okay, if we finish, we might score a point if lucky. But being third again, that's obviously a great achievement for us. And I think, you know, our whole team could be very proud of that. We built a really great car. BMW gave us a nice, drivable and reliable engine, and that's fine.
Special moment on the podium there with you and Michael, I could tell.
Well, it was. It's actually always a very special moment, but today, you know, it was particularly special because I think, you know, first race for a new manufacturer and being third is a great moment.
We were on the front row and obviously leading and second in the race, so we can take confidence from that. You know, Michael didn't seem to be pushing us particularly hard in the race, so you know, just need to make the car more reliable.
Has this weekend been an indication of what we'll see for the next couple of races, do you think?
It's going to be close, so I think depending on who gets the most out of the car and the tyres, it could flit around, but at least in terms of pace, we can feel comfortable that we've brought it, but obviously, like last year, we need reliability.
You've got the good start that you didn't get the last 2 years. How do you see the season ahead now?
Exactly the right direction. I mean, that's what we needed to start off competitive, and now the season can go ahead.
He was expecting opposition from the McLarens, Tony. It never materialised.
No, it didn't.
Un momentino per seguire Mika Hakkinen, che ha appena abbandonato con la sua vettura l'autodromo qui di Melbourne. Ha spiegato come sono andate le cose dal suo punto di vista. Improvvisamente ha sentito il motore che perdeva potenza, quindi ha visto il fumo bianco uscire dal retrotreno, ha capito che la gara era finita. Non sa effettivamente quali sono le cause precise e nemmeno se il problema sulla macchina di Coulthard era lo stesso. Per quanto riguarda questo inizio di campionato, ovviamente ha detto non poteva esserci un inizio peggiore dopo una qualifica tanto buona con la pole position di ieri, e comunque sarà un problema tecnico, verrà risolto presto, la McLaren si riproporrà quale principale avversaria.
Johnny Herbert, this really isn't your lucky circuit, is it?
Whatever you said. Well, basically, got a good start actually, very good start. Made out a couple of places. There was something going on with Pedro Diniz, and he actually wiped my left mirror out as I tried to avoid him, and then the clutch started slipping, and it just got worse and worse, and then eventually lost drive.
You really aren't very lucky in Australia, are you? It's about the third time you've not made the first lap.
Yeah, well, this is the furthest I've got in the last couple of years, but it's all the other problems that have gone with it. We've got a hell of a lot of work to do. We've got to pull all our heads together and make this work. You know, hopefully Eddie won't have a problem-free run, but the way things have been showing, you know, hopefully it can change today, and it'd be nice to obviously go away with something.
Wish you the best of luck. Thanks a lot. David Coulthard, very bad luck. What happened there?
We had a problem that came in with it. Misfire on the engine after the safety car. So I came into the pits. We tried to rectify with the software, and unfortunately when I'm back out, obviously lost the engine, so very disappointing.
They've had a long chat with both Ron and Adrian. Is it a similar problem with Mika?
Well, obviously we need to wait until he gets back, but I think initial indications are that it's a similar problem. So it's, you know, it's a small part, relatively easy to fix, but of course that doesn't help us here.
Is this something that hasn't raised its head in pre-season then?
We had a small similar case, but not that it was a major concern in all the other miles that we did, but maybe it was just a safety car, or you get a lot of extra heat build up in the car, and maybe that was just enough to put it over the edge.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Mika Hakkinen, very bad luck. What happened there?
Well, it's too early to
too early to explain to you exactly what happened with the car, but definitely some smoke started coming out of the engine, like you saw probably in the television. The smoke started coming out of the behind the car. So do not know exactly yet, but long way to go.
Do you think that the safety car may have made it? Do you think the safety car may have made it worse with temperatures?
Maybe.
This kind of problems at that stage of the race?
Well, to be quite honest, we certainly didn't expect it. We thought we had an understanding of what occurred in the practice on the engines in unofficial qualifying, but in fact what's happened is exactly the same. So we can take some comfort from the fact that all 4 engines suffered the same pneumatic failure. That will allow us to very quickly focus in on a part of the engine which has never really given us any problems before. So somewhere within either the supply chain or within the assembly process, something has fallen out of spec, and we've had the failures that you can see.
How was the lead for Mika and David in front of Michael? Do you think it was comfortable at the stage of the problem?
Yeah, we'd already dropped our pace and were conserving fuel in order to be able to have the maximum window in which to stop. He was in good shape behind the pace car. I'd radioed in that the car was handling very well and he had no problem to go faster if necessary. David was very much just keeping pace and waiting for the fuel load to drop out. I think fortunately completed enough of the race to know that the cars are very competitive, and that much to the belief of some people in Formula One, we have the ability to beat Ferrari and Michael. So whilst we're disappointed, we can at least go away feeling that we have the opportunity to fight in Brazil.
So we can be sure that this problem we saw today will be solved for Interlagos?
Yes, I'm not concerned about that, but you win world championships, 17 races, and you can't, in the level of competitiveness that we have now, you can't afford to just be too philosophical about one race. We've got formidable competitors and some very reliable cars, and you know, this sort of performance really isn't acceptable.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron, and good luck to you and the team.
Thank you.
Hello, Eddie. What kind of problems did both of your cars suffer in that race?
Not altogether fully certain yet. On Jarno Trulli's car, it appears that we had an exhaust failure, and that caused the problem which stopped it with basically what people saw was an engine failure, but it is not an engine failure from what we can clearly see at the moment, but yet needs to be confirmed when the cars return to the factory here. It is an exhaust problem. On Heinz Harald's car, we had a pot failure on the electronics, sending the message to the gear change, and while it was running, it was clearly not going to improve and we weren't going to score points, and sadly that was the end of the day.
But up to this point, Eddie, it was a pretty good race of both of your cars. Did you expect something like that happening? Was it a big surprise after you had problems with the reliability sometimes in the pre-testing?
You know, we have really pushed the car in a different way this year because we are pretty determined, or trying to anyway, make very big inroads into McLaren and Ferrari. And to get that speed, obviously something has to suffer and the reliability will suffer. But I think it's in a good cause in the long term, because we hopefully then have a car that can compete and win races from the front. So it's a difficult call to make. Right now you'd like to be reliable, but you also want the speed as well.
Very quite understandable, but how long do you think will the team need when you get to the point where you have the benefit of the improvements which you have installed before the season?
It's always a difficult one, you know. Once it starts, it's very hard to get things done. We'll test next week in Silverstone, and then we'll see what happens in Brazil. But this is very disappointing, particularly when we had the chance and were leading a race. And who knows what's going to happen, but this is life. We've had a very reliable time last year, and we knew the penalties that were going to be there, and the penalty is that if you suffer with reliability, even for speed, you don't score points. So we have to wait to see. I hope it'll be sooner rather than later.
Okay, Eddie, thank you very much. Sorry for the dropouts. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Mit unserem englischen Kollegen, und wir hören uns das jetzt im Original noch einmal an.
And it caused the engine to overheat, but it appears it was an exhaust problem to cause all the problems. With Heinz Harald, one of the pots which sends the messages on the electronic side of things to the gearbox to do certain functions seem to have failed. Of course, both of them, we have to get them back here to confirm that, but that's what it looks like on the data and the telemetry. That it's a gearbox failure.
Now, you're obviously disappointed, but were you encouraged by the pace of the cars when they were running?
Yeah, I think the cars ran quite well, but that's always the penalty that one has. Last year we approached it with a very high degree of reliability, and you're always going to suffer if you change from that, and we've changed from that. And the reasons we've changed is because we really wanted to up the pace of the car. So the car seems to be a lot quicker this year, but obviously a lot more fragile.
Really, thanks, bad luck.
In Australia, enjoyed by Melbourne's sizable Italian population, the Constructors' Champions have certainly hit the ground running this time.
You've got the good start that you didn't get the last 2 years. How do you see the season ahead now?
Exactly the right direction. I mean, that's what we needed to start off competitive, and now the season can go ahead.
Quick word on Rubens, fantastic drive by him today.
Yeah, no, great job, no doubt. That's what we wanted, to have a competitive teammate, and he certainly is. We got on very well, I have to say. We work very well together. We exchange a lot of information. So it's also, all in all, a very calm atmosphere.
What was the feeling like when you were stood on the podium?
Well, you know, I'm always delighted to be there. I'm always, for sure, people in Brazil are happy because everything is happening. But I mean, inside myself, I think I did a good job. I was almost on the pole position this time, and I was almost on the first place this time. So who knows? Brazil is coming.
I was able to go very fast during the race. I was, I'd say, pushing onto the McLarens. They had a better start, as usual. It's something we need to work on. But I'm very optimistic. We are there, and we need another little steps, and then we will look a little bit more comfortable.
Jensen's performance today.
Jensen did a very good race. I mean, I have to say, I have to make him a compliment. He did a good weekend. I mean, he crashed yesterday morning, what is a very normal thing that happens sometimes. But today he did great, and I mean, he was in the points when he stopped, so he could finish in a fantastic position too.
How different was the whole experience of a Formula One race for you, Jensen?
It's obviously very different. Long races to start with. A 58-lap race is very long compared to what I'm used to. It's about 20 laps in Formula 3, so it's quite a big difference. Also the competition. This is the best drivers in the world I'm racing against now, and it's great to be here.
Physically, did you feel it in the later stages? Very, very hot out there, very demanding?
Yeah, just after the just before the pit stop, so I started getting a bit tired, but after the pit stop I was raring to go again. I don't know what, maybe I had an extra booster or something, but coming out the pits and being in sixth definitely helps.
I'll tell you, it's really good to have you with us. It's really good to have you throughout the season. Thanks for joining us now. And so Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello collect all 16 points for Ferrari. Ralf Schumacher gets 4 for Williams. Villeneuve at last scoring for BAR. Then Fisichella and Zonta promoted to 6 on the back of Sarlo's belated disqualification for a faulty front wing. Marty Brundle's joining us. We saw the first Formula One drive for Jenson Button. You were very unsure about whether he should be here at all. Have you changed your mind?
The season's yet young, of course. There's a lot of things to happen, but it was a tremendous performance, a good start, excellent start, in fact. Kept it on the road. He was dicing with some old hands. His lap times were very, very consistent through the race, and I wondered if he might tire, might fade a little bit. Jenson said later that he was feeling a bit fatigued just before the pit stop, but when he came out after this stop, which is very quick in 11 seconds.
His first ever pit stop.
His first ever pit stop in a motor race. Got away well, look. And next time round, they're showing him P6, and that gave him a second wind.
Tony, he seems to have handled the whole Formula One circus like a veteran.
Yeah, he has, and I mean, I can't think of anyone other than Alain Prost, when I was working for McLaren, who came from F3 after we'd selected him, went straight into his first race and got 6th place, which of course what Jensen was heading to. And he'd had literally no experience whatsoever, other than this man on the right, who also did a great job jumping from F3 to F1. I think he's got it. As Martin says, the jury's out because there's a long way to go. But let's hope for his sake and for Britain and for the younger drivers who are waiting for him to blaze a path for them, that he makes it.
So we give Jensen a tick, shall we, Martin? Let's look at the start. It looks as though McLaren's have got a big stick there. They look a big tick, I should say. They look to be away and gone.
Yeah, the McLaren's a perfect getaway there from both of them, and Coulthard even thinking of having a look up the inside of Hakkinen, but the Ferrari's very tardy away, giving one of the Jordans, Frentzen, a chance to split them, and that would cost Barrichello a lot of time. A little bit of a touch going on at the back end, but pretty solid driving from all those in the field, actually.
Now, when the big cat came out of the bag, which a big blaze of glory, wasn't it? But they sort of whimpered away with the tail between the legs here, Jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, again, and we have to remember that it's a repainted Stewart team, and they have had these huge problems. But Johnny Herbert, and Martin said it in the commentary, unfortunately, it's the same old luck for him again, and he almost has the secondary Australian jinx. That was Deniz who pushed him out there, and then someone had pushed into him. But, you know, he got thrown off into the sand in '97, him and Villeneuve, and this was Irvine also spinning out in avoidance of Pedro de la Rosa, who'd gone up earlier off there. You know, a suspicion, maybe some sort of a failure on the arrows. We don't know, we'll have to wait and see.
Let's go back and talk about McLaren's, Martin. Amazing. Again, they leave this place nil point.
I know Ron Dennis said to me before the race that he felt sure they'd fixed the problem they had on Saturday morning when both cars failed with engine dramas. They thought it was something to do with a transit problem as they were coming over from the UK to Australia, and he felt it wouldn't be repeated. But as we saw, both of them puffing smoke out of the back as they departed from the race, looking very sick, and as you say, absolutely no points, and they didn't seem to have their clear performance advantage that they've had in the last couple of seasons going into the first race.
And the Jordans as well, so much expected from Jordan this season, especially after the way they went last time around, and they had a pretty miserable old time, Tony.
Well, they got the strength and the continuity with the Mugen Honda engine, the same staff and team, and Jarno Trulli, the poor lad here, who's in a firm 3rd position, and then off he goes out like that. Look at the flames coming out of the back. That a bit of a shock. They have had gearbox problems during testing. Now, this is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. It was after the pit stop. Schumacher had already come in. Heinz-Harald Frentzen had a 14-second lead. He came in. Now, this was the refueling problem, having to put the nozzle back on and off. Something had jammed in there, and that'll rekindle this debate about the decoupling under flow, that is, with the fuel still in the hose, and then yanking it off, which is what Ferrari did last year to make refueling quicker. It could jam. Lots of people say it's dangerous.
Final word from you, Martin. Sum up the Australian Grand Prix.
Well, reliability was a huge issue. Ferrari looking strong in every way. Michael Schumacher looking peerless, it has to be said. I thought there were some very solid drives through the field. I think we had one or two strange runners in the top 6 at the end, and maybe they won't have quite such a luxury, I think, as Jordan and McLaren particularly, and Jaguar get their act together.
Martin, Tony, thanks very much. ITV2, Monday night, a repeat of this highlights programme at 8 o'clock. And a couple of weeks' time, we go to Brazil. Stand by for Rubinho fever there. Lots of support for Barrichello, qualifying live 3:30 on the Saturday afternoon, and the race, our coverage starting from 5:20 on the Sunday. Highlights at 11:50. And so Michael Schumacher is a winner at last in Australia, and so is Jenson Button, thrown in at the deep end, down under, but emerging in great style. Good night to you all.
That's it. David Coulthard out of the race. Mika Hakkinen out of the race.